Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome, everybody, to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 173. I'm your host, Klauss Nightbringer. Joining me, as always, is Seyrr Timono. Seyrr, what's going on?
Self-maintenance is hard.
It is.
By which I mean things are great. No problems.
That's good. And for those of you joining us live here at twitch.tv/Phoenix Down Radio, you will also see that we have a couple of new faces joining us today. And I'm seeing that one of our guests is covering up our chat, so I'm going to have to do some editing of the scene as we go, though. But yeah, welcome.
That's on you. You got us here an hour early to do this.
Yeah, and I kind of forgot that part of it, but that's all right. But joining us again, Anonymoose, thank you so much for joining us again. We really do appreciate it. And joining us for the first time is Chamo. Chamo, thank you so much for agreeing to join us. I'm not sure you know what you got yourself into, but you're here, so welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm happy to join in.
All right. Apologies for not being on the last episode, guys. If you were following our social media, you would see that unfortunately Seyrr's computer decided to go.
We eventually narrowed it down to either the CPU or the motherboard, and at that point, it's kind of a lost cause.
Yep. So at that point, Seyrr and I sat down. We figured out what to do for him. We ended up getting him a new computer. I want to throw a huge shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. Nicknar, Aurori, Tibiant, Ravenheart, Mika, and Remix. Because of your guys' support, we were able to send Seyrr a bit of extra money to help him cover the cost of his computer. So that was huge. We really do appreciate that. So thank you again for your support of Phoenix Down Radio and getting Seyrr a new system.
It really means a lot. Thank you all.
Indeed. As you can also see, we are live in game for once, because we wanted to do this on the previous episode, but it's kind of dark. I apologize, but we're currently on Seyrr's Island here on Hyperion. If you are joining us live, you can send Seyrr a message in game and we'll get you invited over so you can come join us and hang out here. It's a really nice place, even though he has his monuments all in the wrong places. But
my monuments are in the objectively correct place. Thank you.
No, but it is not the technically correct place, which is the best kind of correct.
Forced meme is forced.
But it still works. Anyway, let's let our guests introduce themselves a little bit, though, as we were talking about them before. I rudely interrupted about Seyrr. Chamo, since you're new here, please introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about you, and let everybody kind of, know more what brings you to the show and like.
Sure thing. So I'm Chamo. You might also know me as Chamo, depending on how you might read my name on Twitter. If you have happened to see me there, I am what one would call a Final Fantasy XIV boomer. I've been around a while. I was there when the lore forum was made and like Koji was posting actual responses to like the big CG Midlander thread. I've been into Final Fantasy XIV's lore for a very long time. And I've been involved in a lot of the discussions with like translations and things for different languages for like different scenes. I know we had like one that we always kind of went back and forth on there was like a La Habrea discussion in the old dungeon, one of the old dungeons. You guys know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, the Todorock incident.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, my general focus for 14th lore is on the Eorzean Alliance and Gridanian lore, but I love everything else too. Eorzea is a great place. It's fun. It's always great to learn about. The story is like the one thing that I always keep up with. And like I was saying, I like translating between the different languages to see how the lore is interpreted in different languages, because I am a Japanese to English translator as well. I sometimes translate or help translate the New Year's messages with Moose before we get them in English. So we're like, okay, let's compare them all and see, what the differences are and what the nuances are and like what that means. And like sometimes we'll translate them some years and it'll be like pretty close, and other times it'll be like totally off the mark because like, the Final Fantasy XIV Loc team knows stuff about the context of that we don't. So, it's always interesting to see how they interpret it.
Yeah, you're like one of the OG panslators.
I don't know if I would call myself OG, but I try to help where I can. But yeah, I think that is the main stuff. I think Kane-san is cool. I was a very depressed 17-year-old playing 1.0 when she first like came into the world of Final Fantasy XIV, and I was like, she's beautiful. She's my favorite NPC in anything ever. And people will be like, excuse me, she's not even relevant. Like, why do you like this random NPC? I'm like, you weren't there. You weren't there when you saw her for the first time. But yeah, that's my thing. But yeah, that's my history with 14. And other than that, I also translate farm games in my spare time. When I say in my spare time, but it's not really my spare time. It's 8 hours a day. So
this is what some people would, to use a technical term, call a job.
Mm-hmm.
That they pay you for.
Yes, they do this.
I long for the day when I can consider my employment my spare time.
Oh.
Who has spare time?
That's a good question.
Well, but thank you. Were you into the other Final Fantasy games as well, or is 14 one of your first games? I know that 14 brought a lot of people into the Final Fantasy world, as their first game. But where did you start?
Yeah, I actually, grew up kind of surrounded by the Final Fantasy games, like the older ones, because my cousins would always play it. I remember being a kid and watching them like play Final Fantasy X without knowing like what exactly it was. I was like, wow, that lady with the belts is really cool, it's like not knowing that it was Lulu, and so much later in my life when I played them. And so a lot of the like exposition to the Final Fantasy series that I had was like, just watching people play it and not like, experiencing it for myself until later in my life when I was like 18 when I started playing 1.0, and that was like my biggest gateway into the Final Fantasy series with 14, and I kind of went down the rabbit hole there. So now I have a good knowledge of most of the series.
Very cool. But I'm glad that you're able to join us, and hope you enjoy your time today. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know Moose really needs no introduction, but he's been a guest here a couple of times. But for those who might be new to Phoenix Down Radio or to the lore area, or just random shit posting in Final Fantasy 14, Moose, why don't you tell us about yourself?
I can try. Like I just done so much different stuff in every area. I'm like slowly just adopting the title Old Man Lore. Like that's just general loremonger. Depending on what eras of the game you've been around for, you may know me as the guy who got everyone thrown out of the localization forum and quarantined in the lore forum, the guy who did writing and interviews for Gamerscape, the guy Koji Fox punched off stage for missing a typo in a lore book.
Well,
was it a punch or a kick?
I think it was like a shove. I don't know, like all I remember was like going back and sitting in my seat and seeing someone had taken a picture of it, and it looked like he was just like uppercutting me off the stage. And I was like, this is the best photo in history.
It absolutely was. Perfect timing of that.
Guy who went to grad school for 2.5 years and doesn't know anything about the first. Mr. Happy's phone a friend. I don't know. Just a little bit of everything.
I like your last one in there, this Crystal Mom fan club president.
Yeah, I had this habit of like, I would try, like in the middle of a lore discussion, I would try to be like, hey, the door is still open for this thing. We haven't shut this door yet. And I was one of the few people who considered Hydaelyn being evil, like this M. Night Shyamalan ending that was just, it was so obvious that there was no way you could really go through it without adding a lot of nuance. But like every time I said that, everybody got really mad because she was, quote, obviously the bad guy. So I just like shit posted nonstop that Crystal Mom loves you.
I think another Moose era was the Gaius Lives era.
Gaius Lives.
My lore book, you signed it with hashtag Gaius Lives.
Well, Gaius Lives was originally like that same thing. Like everybody got mad when I said it, so I said it a lot, and it really didn't become a meme or become fun until Fusion X and Ethos started doing it. Like they made it fun instead of something that raises my blood pressure.
Oh dear. But yeah, quite insane. Apparently,
and you turned out to be right on all counts. Gaius lived, and Crystal Mom does love us, and is just a huge troll.
The only three of the only 4 things I ever took a hard stance on are confirmed. I may get dunked on in the last one. We'll see.
Time is yet to tell that. But apparently in chat, JLCS is trying to say, if we press the stay hydrated, do we get to make Moose drink water here again?
Do you have a hydrate button here?
Yeah, we have a stay hydrated option.
Oh no, I didn't fill my bottle. I'm back to sugar tea.
That's
They
not
try to
proper
make me drink
for your
real
hydration.
water.
You need to stay hydrated, my friend.
The first time you guys are discussing something, I'll go fill my water bottle.
Probably for the best.
Well, don't fill it with vodka, whatever you do, because that would just not be good for anybody.
No,
that would be hilarious.
Yes, but we do want Moose to live, okay?
No, I'm a lightweight. I would be like teenager super extra Moose within 10 minutes.
Ooh.
So Uncle Fenris in chat saying sugar tea is perfectly fine, I guess.
All right, cool. I'm following Fenris on this one.
Oh dear.
We'll let that slide, I guess. But again, I want to throw another quick shout out to our Patreon producers, Nicknar, Aurori, Tibiant, Ravenheart, and Mika. Again, thank you so much for your support on Patreon. It really means a lot to us. Let's go ahead and jump into our game and community news now. For those of you who like to follow the different little stories that Square Enix releases during the Rising event and other special events like this, all of the stories have now been released on their website. They are available to go check out. I do strongly recommend you go read them if you haven't. I have yet to read the last one just because life has been very busy, but the first 3 I thought were pretty darn good. What are your guys' thoughts on these stories?
It definitely seemed like something where they're again planting a lot of seeds for future expansion. The second story involved a look at our favorite bun boy gleaner, Aaronville, and they seem to be hinting that he's got a lot more going on in his backstory that just hasn't been revealed yet.
Yeah, the last line was kind of the kicker there, where he talks about, he took his name from the town that he was from, and I was really excited about that because I think I speak for a lot of people when I say Aaronville was a really bright part of Endwalker, especially in the Charlian arc. So it's really exciting to see that they are kind of planting the seeds for this new potential to bring him closer to the Scions, especially at the end where he's going to talk to Kryl. So it's very exciting, and I can't wait to see more of him if that's the case.
Aaronville's came out of nowhere for me. Like I was reading it, and usually you can tell right away, oh, this is going to be something that fleshes out lore, and oh, this is going to be something that gives you a really wholesome new perspective on something that was kind of brushed over in the scenario. So I thought we were seeing something we already knew all about, but we're getting some characterization about it. And then the end is just oh, by the way, Aaronville's a place. Please look forward to it.
And Aaronville, the person, has a purpose of his own. Yeah.
No,
I bet my first question is just, is it near Corvus? Because they keep name dropping that too.
Yeah. The third story ended up being a bit more of that fleshing out thing that you were talking about, looking a bit at Hermes, especially his thoughts and actions and feelings kind of during a lot of the events of the story, the stuff in Katis's Hyperborea, sort of giving a little bit more insight into what was going on for him there.
Yeah, very cool stuff.
That last one, Klauss, I know you haven't read it, so I won't go into too much detail, but it's looking a bit more at the Garlean situation and at their kind of fumbling steps forward into whatever it is they're going to become.
And they actually, the last one helps fill out our family tree a little bit in ways that we've been asking questions about for a long time, so that was cool.
Oh yeah, we got a full Imperial family tree out of that, didn't we?
Yeah, if
Or
yeah,
reasonably
you just map the whole thing.
I think people were also pointing out too for that last story. There's actually like an NPC that you can talk to in Garlemald that like kind of gives some slight detail on the story, and then that kind of detail becomes part of the fourth story as well. So it's kind of a nice connection there.
I didn't make that connection yet.
I'll have to find the link to it, but it's pretty cool. The fact that like somebody found this like minor thing and it connects to the whole story.
Yeah. We'll get into it a little bit more later on, but a couple of our friends out in the first have new comments as a result of the events, the Void events in this patch, assuming that you've done the additional role quest stuff in Shadowbringers. So again, like far-flung NPCs that it, like, if you stop to think about it, might have an interest in it. They are going back and filling them in with even more commentary on the newest developments. It's kind of impressive, the depths that they go to in it.
Very nice. And like I said, I've heard some people talking that they think the stories are a little bit weaker this time, but like I said, I enjoyed them, and I really think that we get some really interesting information regarding, you know, how the lore of this game and the story of the world itself, not just what we're seeing through our characters' eyes.
I would also say the last few, we had a thing where it was like sort of culminating, all building towards this big finale point. So it was clear where the direction where it was going and how the stuff fit in. And we're kind of in a like broader expanding. It's not necessarily clear where this will all end up. And so it may not quite have the same impact to it because we don't necessarily see how it fits into the larger picture yet.
Yeah, I actually thought it was a pretty strong year. It just, there was no gut punch, you know, there was no like surprise big toy to play with kind of thing, but it was still strongly written, I thought.
Yeah, that's fair. How does this sound before we go on to our next story? Like I said, we have some giveaways today because this is our 7th anniversary episode. We wanted to give some stuff away on the last episode that we didn't have, or, you know, but let's go ahead and start our first giveaway right now as we're going through the gaming community news. So for now, I'm going to start this, and we're going to be giving away a Cruise Chaser mount. So if
people have been putting up with us for 7 years, they deserve something for that.
Exactly. So in chat, if you want to enter, type in !PickMe, and you will be entered into a drawing for that Cruise Chaser mount. We'll end the giveaway after we're done with the gaming community news, and we'll pick a winner at that point. So go ahead and enter in now. You've got a few minutes to get going. So next story. Did you guys check out the Nintendo Direct that they had earlier this month?
I did. I was up for it.
There's a friend of mine who usually gets super worked up about Nintendo Directs, and usually I'm a little bit eye-rolling at him, and this time I listened to him, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, this time there were actually quite a few Square Enix announcements in this particular Direct, especially the fact that we got some new information and release date for Crisis Core in a Nintendo Direct was pretty crazy.
Not where I did that.
No, I mean, normally it would have either been a direct Square Enix announcement, or a lot of times they push those onto like a PlayStation State of Play kind of thing. That's where they announced the Final Fantasy VII release dates and times in the past. But no, we got Crisis Core release date December 13th of this year. It's going to be coming out on PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, the Xbox One, the Switch, and PC. And if you want to get your pre-order in now, they are currently live.
I am so glad Square Enix has finally like understood the longevity factor in stewarding things to every platform, including PC, so that like from now on in the future it's going to be easier to port, easier to get a hold of, easier to steward forward. That's so important.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think Japanese companies are starting to kind of jump on the trend of PC ports, because they're seeing how well that it's doing for a lot of like Western titles, and how, you know, accessible, you know, PC games have become, you know, especially with things like the Steam Deck now, that people can like kind of take it around as conveniently as a Nintendo Switch, and you know, they're jumping on it and seeing, you know, what they can do to port, you know, their best titles onto Steam, which is great. Like I'm glad to see a lot of these titles like coming onto PC, because it's like, oh yeah, I got my nice gaming laptop. I can play them now. It's exciting.
I'm just trying, and I just verified that it is coming out via Steam. So my question is, we were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show because I was talking that my pre-order for my Steam Deck just came out this week, so I got that ordered. I wonder, is it going to be Steam Deck compatible? Because how amazing would that be to play the new version of Crisis Core on the Steam Deck?
Oh, it's like an upgraded PSP.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Recapturing
that'd be very
experience.
cyclical.
Well, that and the fact that it's also available on Steam or on not Steam, on Switch. So I mean, that would be potentially 2 handheld places where it can be played.
Hmm.
I'm interested to see too how well they can optimize it for Switch. I know that they were also doing a Nier Automata for Switch as well, and apparently that based on like some of the trailers and stuff, it runs decently well. So I'm interested to see, how that's optimized for Switch as well, because I know that's been a big challenge. But it looks like for some of Square Enix's other titles like Harvestella, like they've optimized very well on Switch. So I don't doubt that they can put those same sort of techniques to work with Crisis Core.
Definitely.
They mentioned a couple other upcoming games. Theatrism, Final Bar Line will be coming out February, as well as Octopath Traveler 2, which totally should have been Deca Hexapath Traveler. Come on. Also, Harvestella, I found that surprisingly charming, and I've also been very amused at the reaction to people of being able to select male, female, or non-binary for your hero, and then being able to select any character model. And the number of people posting on forums who clearly have not played anything developed by a queer developer in the last several years is like, no, this is perfectly normal. Why are you so shocked at this? You can pick whichever model. No, those are not all girl models. The males are just kind of androgynous as always. But
Yeah,
it's been kind of fun.
It's nice to see that sort of accessibility, especially coming in from Japanese developers, and I know Harvestella is not the only one to do it as well. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on, and I hope that devs will continue this trend of this sort of level of openness and accessibility in gaming.
Yeah, definitely from Japanese developers. I wouldn't have expected it nearly this soon. I know I know, Kama, that you've done some work with trying to push that forward, but that it's been a hard road.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome that there's more inclusivity like that. The one
also,
thing,
it's just super cute, and the watering cat is a rod sprinkler thing that is adorable.
one thing you forgot to mention though about Theatrhythm, Seyrr, was the fact that it's coming out for Switch and PS4. That's kind of an interesting choice.
I mean, presumably it'll be playable on the PS5, but it's not like natively made for.
No, it's going to be running in a kind of a compatibility mode that they utilize to run PS4 games on the PS5. But the fact that there isn't a PC release on it as well is kind of interesting. I'm hoping that they eventually will do that, because I'd like to see more Square Enix games available on the PC platform.
Yeah.
Because
I kind of wonder if the rhythm ones are considered more of a niche or something. I don't know.
Possibly. Or that maybe they're
I feel like they've gained quite a lot of popularity in the last few years, though, because I've seen a lot of just random circles who I wouldn't have expected get into the rhythm, be like, oh yeah, new the rhythm coming out. So it's I don't know. I think that would really benefit from PC, even if it's just one of those real Yakuza use controller situation where you have to use a controller to play it more kind of like you were playing it handheld.
Though Chili does
the other
bring.
thing
I was gonna say, Chili brings up a really good point in chat, specifying that there may be a little bit concerned that people would mod it and put in unlicensed music. So that is a possibility, but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
You were gonna say though, Seyrr?
Oh no, I didn't really. I can't remember it, and I don't think it was terribly important.
Okay, and then Octopath Traveler 2 is going to be released for Switch, PS4, PS5, and Steam. This one is not getting the Xbox treatment. But it is nice to see Octopath on something other than a Switch. Because I didn't get to play the original because I didn't have a Switch until last year, I think it was. So when the OLED versions came out. So where was that? Okay. Then the next story, there was some Final Fantasy announcements at Tokyo Game Show last weekend, and they said Final Fantasy 16 will have a new trailer coming in the next month or so. All we got was some pretty artwork otherwise. But what are your guys' level of excitement for 16? Let's start with you, Camo.
am very excited for 16. Like I was saying, I got the shirt because I was like, I know this is kind of a gamble, but it could either end up being like, haha, you got a Final Fantasy 16 shirt, or oh wow, you got a Final Fantasy 16 shirt, but knowing the developers, knowing Yoshi P. Scott, like, some of the core members from the Heavensward team working on 16, it gives me a lot of hope, and I'm really excited to jump into it and see, what Mr. Clive Final Fantasy has in store for us.
Yeah, I mean, the from what I've read about the story, it seems like a really interesting idea. How they're handling the summons, the Eidolons is going to be intriguing. I'm really curious how the battle system is going to work, because I mean, Square's been really leaning hard into that action adventure RPG style with 15 and with 7 remake. So I mean, are they going to just continue to improve upon that and bring that into 16, or is there going to be something completely different? Thoughts?
Yeah, it's an interesting, like, I don't know. I do like the idea of them like going for a more like action based Final Fantasy, like they have with 15. But I do think there's still a market for like people who are nostalgic for turn based, big like AAA turn based RPGs. And I know that I think they're kind of focusing their kind of turn based style RPGs and things more like Octopath and Saga, and some of their other like smaller franchises. But it's a little bit bittersweet to see this kind of evolution of Final Fantasy. But I know that like Yoshi P said and like others have said before him, Final Fantasy is something that's always changing. It's we don't want to have this overly defined notion of what a Final Fantasy has to be. So I'm looking forward to seeing like how they experiment with the formula, and experiment with these classic kind of elements of like these summons and how we fight as Clive, or how our friends as Eidolons are helping us. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Moose, what are your levels of excitement for Final Fantasy 16?
High, but like maybe not for the reasons that you would expect. Like I mean, you know me, I'm big into narrative, I'm big into stories, I'm big into exploring journeys, and part of why I'm excited about it is the real world journey. Like we know Final Fantasy has been on a roller coaster satisfaction wise for customers. Like it's just been up and down with quality and reputation and feedback and what people are saying about them. It's been a long time since we've had like a universally acclaimed Final Fantasy, and there's always been some debate around the development or the final product. So now we've got this big main numbered game coming out. It's led by the rock stars that we know, because we're not the people who run screaming when we see the word online on a Final Fantasy logo. We've got Yoshida, Takai, Mihiro, we even got Soken. So like we see these people that I feel like I've kind of grown with through the 14 era, and they're making the no guns, epic, low tech Final Fantasy that Yoshida's been talking about wanting to make for years. So to me, it's just like this is the end of a journey when we get this game, and I'm hoping that it's going to knock it out of the park, because that's a great ending for that journey. So I'm excited to play it just to see what the end of that road looks like.
Yeah, I know I've had those similar feelings when Final Fantasy IX was first announced back in the late 90s, because we had 2 entries into the cyberpunk kind of realm with Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII. I mean, don't get me wrong, those were both really good games, but for me, as somebody who played the original Final Fantasy back when I was a kid, just a wee little lad, used to the old-fashioned, RPGs with swords and shields and dragons and stuff like that. Going back to those roots in 9 really impacted me, and it's part of the reason why that's my favorite Final Fantasy game. I kind of have a similar hope that Final Fantasy 16 will give us some of those feels as well. Seyrr, what do you think?
I think that I got distracted because I was sending some memes to Moose and Chamo about this.
Too busy shit posting to pay attention and participate, huh? Well, that is fair.
I'll throw it in the Twitch chat, and then everyone else can enjoy it.
Yeah.
I would like to believe this meme is true. I would like to believe to see that, like, there's some 11 connection that we're not aware of. I mean, it is Creative Business Unit 3. They do work on 11 and 14, so it's not out of the question.
Hey, if we can get that hat, I will be happy. Okay.
I am also just happy that Matoid is still posting stuff. She's great.
See, if we can
she's wonderful.
If we can get that hat.
Oh, but that for that to be lore appropriate, the hat is going to need to be. Wait, that's the relic hat. Okay, or that's the AF hat. The relic hat would be the one that causes a brutal betrayal in your party. Probably somewhere around 4th act. Link shells fell apart because of the relic red mage hat.
You're not wrong. I mean, I still never got, or did I end up finally getting my? No, I didn't. I never got mine out as Archibald. So, anyway, continuing on. So we had some interesting announcements coming out of TGS. Let's see. Oh, and we did talk about, or didn't talk about yet, the demo that they actually got to play of Crisis Core on the gaming floor at Tokyo Game Show. I really would have loved to play that.
Any particular reports from it? I know that this was a thing, but not what people were actually saying about their feelings on the demo.
I didn't dig in and grab too many, or grab any examples of somebody who got to play the game. I do recall reading a couple of articles saying that they really enjoyed, how it looked, because it had similar visuals to 7 Remake. Yet they still tried to keep the gameplay as close to the original as possible, while just trying to make those little improvements to make it flow better.
I never quite got what was going on with the digital mind wave thing, and I figured, okay, this is just a slot machine, and every so often it's gonna buff me.
Yeah, basically, and it's still kind of sitting in the background doing its thing. So,
okay, I apparently did know what was going on with it. Neat.
My question for the Crisis Core, and I guess demo, and I guess Crisis Core in general, are they bringing Gact back? I want to know this, because that would be a move.
Not sure, but we'll find out in December. All right, and then everybody's favorite.
Chili in the chat is saying that yes, Gact is back.
Oh, nice.
That's incredible.
Chili would know these things because Chili is Chili.
Chili is remarkably well connected.
Well, he does work for a video games reporting organization. So, shout out to PSU. Go check them out.
Excellent.
Hashtag not a sponsor.
Yet. Hashtag yet.
All right. Everybody's favorite time of year in Final Fantasy XIV parlance is coming up, and that would be the 14-hour broadcast. Come on, everybody.
Why do they do this to themselves?
Because the 14-hour broadcast is amazing. I mean,
yes, but I don't exactly like people destroying themselves for my entertainment. The whole mukbang thing earlier was joking. I don't actually want that. I may have had a private mukbang for these people earlier.
Yes. And
this makes sense in context, I swear.
There was salad.
It was a very poor mukbang because it was salad. I mean,
it was very impromptu. I'll do a better one next time.
Yeah, we want ramen next time.
Oh my god, I could destroy a bowl of ramen right now.
Yeah. Anyway, getting back to our news about the 14-hour broadcast, that will be going live on Friday, October 7th, starting at 8 p.m., with Live Letter 73 starting shortly after that at 9:30 p.m. They're going to be talking about their work on patch 6.2, as well as looking forward towards patch 6.25, where we're going to get our Hildebrand weapons coming out. We're going to be getting a few other pieces that I cannot remember off the top of my head, but good stuff. There's also going to be a second channel that they are going to be doing the challenge. They'll be broadcasting the challenge on that channel, so they're going to have a number of things on the main channel, and then instead of checking in on Mr. Atma, riding the bull to get his Atma on the on the main channel, you can tune into that in its entirety. Or I don't remember what the challenge was, though. I'll have to actually click on the link here, huh? Let's see. Brings us to.
Have we done a challenge where he has to do all of Eureka yet?
Oh no!
That would
be so mean.
Yeah.
He is doing
he
a
allowed
Zodiac
to,
weapon challenge.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. The light phase feels like the one that's potentially going to trip them up. I mean, like if they're prepared for how they're going to run that.
I mean, they've nerfed it quite a bit since like 2013, 2014. So
I mean,
I'm hoping that they can get it done.
It's not difficult. It's just I have all of the Zetas and 11 of the 13 Animas.
Okay,
I have made good choices with my life.
All right, going through the schedule on the main broadcast channel, there's going to be the introduction, the live letter. There's going to be a music quiz at midnight Pacific time. Welcome to Nelky's room at 2:30. Eorzea Cafe's top 10, which was a pre-recorded thing, which I mean, I guess that makes sense because they actually went to the Eorzea Cafe to actually eat these different items that they're going to be guessing at. A live Q&A, and the thing that I think looks most interesting is Yoshi P and Sakaguchi are going to sit down and have a little chat at 8 a.m. Pacific time. So if nothing else, I mean, I will be tuning in for that, or at least trying to watch the VOD, afterwards. That's got to be interesting. This
is extremely exciting to me because, like, if you guys have been following Sakaguchi-san's like Twitter or anything, you will know that he like speed ran Final Fantasy 14. He like devoured this game. He loved all of the references. He loved every little thing about this game. So I can't wait to see, him and Yoshi P like talking about just like Final Fantasy in general. And I know that he's like expressed interest in like doing something for 14. So I would love to see like in the future of this game, like some kind of collaboration to really bring back that like old school Final Fantasy feel. Because like Yoshi P has done a good job, and his scenario team has done a good job of like kind of, bringing these sorts of aspects of the old games into 14, but with Sakaguchi-san with them, like that's going to be insanely cool.
Yeah, it would be really nice if SE would do a collaboration with Mistwalker Studios, which is Sakaguchi's current new studio. And have something like that brought into the game, or even maybe do a collab within a Sakaguchi game over at Mistwalker.
Like a Fantation collab or something.
Yeah.
Mentioned in the chat that Sakaguchi has been recreating Chrono Trigger in FF14 with housing and glams.
Nice. Freaking
and that apparently he said he doesn't want to do anything major with 14 since he doesn't want to ruin the fun he has as a player. But something minor he would be okay with.
And that makes sense, because it seems like if you put too much work into things you really enjoy, occasionally it does become, a chore versus, an enjoyment.
Also, we did have someone redeem a stay hydrated drink.
I think we should all have a quick
go
drink.
Get my water.
Well, you got your sugar tea.
I mean, sugar tea counts? Yes!
It's not as hydrating, but it still works.
I'm gonna run and get water. I'll be right back.
I'm a hummingbird.
Somebody's gonna clip that now.
Like, I was saying this in the chat, but the hydration thing is just like a water-based mukbang.
You're not wrong. Anyway.
Oh, wow. This makes all those times they've been like making you drink thing after thing. It makes it take on a weird new light, and I am here for it.
You would be.
Yeah.
And now that Chamo is back, let's go ahead and continue on. Phil Spencer has not given up on getting Final Fantasy XIV on Xbox, which I'm actually very happy to hear about that. It would be nice to see, 14 available for anybody who wants to play the game.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what's getting in the way of that. I mean, honestly, I don't know anything about the actual process for this, if there's like rights or agreements that are already existing with the other companies, but it's something that's been...
In the initial talks, and if you remember, Final Fantasy XI was available on Xbox, but they required their own servers. And that did not go well for anybody. The people who played on Xbox couldn't play with their friends who were on PC or PS2, and it just had a kind of a short-lived lifespan over there. So I think,
because you have to imagine the people who would be playing would be people whose friends were already playing FF11, and they're like, "Yay, I finally get to join them," except they can't.
Exactly.
I think,
go ahead.
Oh, another thing too about like Xbox in general is that it's not as popular in Japan. So I think they would be taking a very large financial risk, trying to market it in Japan as well. But I mean, I think knowing 14's popularity in Japan, they could possibly use it as a kind of a marketing stunt to get more people to buy Xboxes if they are able to do like joint servers, which I think will probably be the biggest challenge. But yeah, it's I think it's a tough sell to really advertise for Xbox or try to get Xbox ports for Japanese games. It's because it's just like, they have the PS5 that, that's kind of their like main thing, or the Switch that's also like pretty big. So it's hard to, fit the Xbox in there in Japanese markets for a lot of games.
Yeah, and you are correct with the fact that Xbox is not as popular in Japan as it is everywhere else. But they also did want their own servers. Microsoft generally has a rule when it comes to online games that they have to be able to control the servers, which in this case, I'm 100% certain that Square Enix and Yoshida do not want to do that. They don't want to segment the gaming community for this MMO, because you need people to play with. If Microsoft and Xbox are willing to allow Square Enix to continue to control all of the servers, I think it would be a lot easier to do, and the possibility that they could get a little bit of Microsoft money to help cover the cost of converting it over to the Xbox platform would definitely sweeten the pot. So we'll have to see what ends up coming of that. Because I know, like I said, Square Enix has put a lot of their new games on the Xbox side. So, I mean, they do recognize that it is a very important part of the gaming industry, and, to have Microsoft, as an ally with that. So we'll see what happens. Anything else you guys want to throw in on that? Moose, you were kind of quiet on that one.
On which one? The Xbox one?
The Xbox one.
Nah, you guys hit all the main points. That was, anything I could say would be repeating stuff you already said.
Fair enough. Any of you guys play Stranger of Paradise?
I played the demo.
I have not yet.
Okay, I only played the demo as well. Chamo?
I've watched streamers and such play it, and it just looks like a ride. I don't know how to feel about the game, but you know what? I'm just glad that they're making DLC for it.
Yeah, speaking of, the second DLC expansion pack, the Wanderers of the Rift, will be coming out on October 26th.
That's got to be a Gilgamesh reference.
It is includes the Blue Mage, a new Labyrinth of Dimensions dungeons, and a weird guy in red armor with multiple arms who seems to like to travel across time and space. So yes, Greg is in there.
I will admit this kind of freely. The commercials for Stranger of Paradise reminded me of like those cringy teen games that I played. And I felt like if I was 14, I would have bought this game on release. Like, it's got total 14-year-old dreaming about what they're going to be like at 18 energy. And
I'm going to kill chaos.
As an adult, I'm like, I'm going to sit and wait for a minute. And if all the cringy teens love it, great. And if it's a bad game, still great. I don't care. Like, I just want to see what it is. And the consensus has been like, this game is like better than it has any right to be. Like, you might not remember it all that well in a few years. It might not be an enduring, timeless classic, but everyone who's played it has said that they really enjoyed it. So I'm probably going to get it.
I know a lot of people really enjoy the Souls-like games, and this is definitely in that style more than any Final Fantasy has ever been.
I am curious about how they're going to implement Blue Mage in that. Like, I played the demo, and so I've got a vague idea for like how the systems work, how it plays, and it's like, okay, so are you going to be able to grab attacks from all enemies, or?
There's going to be a crystal that you will be holding, similar to what we have in 14. A job stone, and that will allow you to absorb and utilize then enemy skills.
Yeah, you're able to switch jobs in mid-thing, and each one has its own set of... It's more of one of the things that you get with Blue Mage in pretty much every single one, which is why they had to do it as a limited job in 14, is that you've got some iconic skills that it's not going to feel like Blue Mage if you don't have it. And then you've got the massive combinatorial explosion of how many different things you can put together once you do.
You're not wrong.
Like, seriously, Blue Mage, if you let it interact with anything else, it breaks everything. And that's true in all the other Final Fantasies, but that's okay because they were single-player experiences.
But this one,
Which, I mean, I guess
this
is kind of a single-player experience as well, so I guess that's okay, question mark?
I think this is a multiplayer. I think you can play Stranger Paradise with up to 4 friends. Or up to 4 people total.
You can, yes.
Yeah, that's why I thought there was an online component with it. But yes, there also is single-player where the AI controls your other characters, but people can come in and control them.
But that's different from like the MMO experience where you have like lots and lots of other people and you are possibly wrecking some of their days by using this super broken thing.
It's your instance. You're not going to be destroying, anybody else's time. You're not going to be yucking anybody else's yum.
You're not going to be flooding the market with lots of boss drops that you farmed way too easily.
Very true.
I have given more thought to this topic than I care to think about right now.
Why don't you give us some thought on this topic? Square Enix is doubling down really on their NFTs, and they've ruined basically a line of really cool Final Fantasy VII collectibles by including a blockchain-based NFT.
Do you care if I get us demonetized? Because I'm going to get us demonetized.
Don't get us demonetized.
Fine.
But I don't know if you guys happen to see this particular article from Gizmodo. Square Enix is releasing a line of, I believe these are play arts. No, Bring Arts. These are Bring Arts collectibles based off of the original drawings for Final Fantasy VII. And they're also kind of including individually serialized digital NFTs to go with them. So
a digital certificate of authenticity is just an NFT. And the article notes that in order to use this digital certificate, you have to sign up for a wallet on the Engine blockchain network.
Yep. Why, Essie? Why?
As well as a digital plus version that, if you give them some extra money, you can redeem an NFT to get a 3D replica viewable in augmented reality.
I just feel like this is against everything that Final Fantasy VII is about. Like,
yeah, that's
okay.
100%.
They're destroying the environment somewhat less now. I think it was Ethereum that recently switched to a thing such that every transaction does not completely destroy the environment.
Yeah, it's not it's no longer a what do they call it? A proof of work concept. It is a proof of stake concept now, I believe.
Something like that.
It's less.
There was a thing. There was a thing about it on Planet Money. It like cut the energy usage to like 0.1% of what it was, or something lower than that, I think.
Yep.
But NFTs are still terrible.
Yep. And these, if you want these posable Bring Arts action figures, they are going to be $130 each.
That's where I start having opinions. Like, usually when it comes to NFTs, I just see them as like Beanie Babies or Pogs. Like, this is just this year's version of that. So I think like, well, I still get my play or Bring Arts figure. I just also get Pogs, and I don't have to play with the Pogs. I can throw the Pogs in the garbage. It doesn't matter. I still get my figure. But when you're paying, like $30 to $50 extra
for your
then
Pog,
it becomes a right. Are you getting like Pog enjoyment out of that? Are you paying the Pog tax? Like that's a really big Pog tax.
All right, I need to find that picture of Milhouse talking about Alf being back in Pog form and start editing it. Thank you. There is always a Simpsons reference available. Always.
You're not wrong. Damn it, Chili. We're gonna ban you one of these days. No, we're not. But
are you Pop son?
We love you, Chili, but boo earns. He started that one. So.
Yeah, It's something that it feels like there's a lot of division even like within the company about it. Like, I'm sure there's lots of different stakeholders and subdivisions have different opinions on it, but it feels like the main company as a whole is pushing forward on it.
Well, I mean, you can't necessarily go against the CEO without, any major, issues coming out of it or potentially being released from your service, type of thing. Also,
Does
I guess, Moose, you have an AFK icon, so maybe want to move.
No, he's good. He's good.
Okay.
He's okay.
And Chili, thank you so much for resubscribing. We do appreciate that, my friend.
Check out that beautiful blue horizon.
I do understand that, like, when a new technology comes out, when a new technology is making lots of money, when that technology is something that the earlier you get in, the more beneficial it's going to be, that it behooves companies to try to explore their potential for monetizing that resource. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But this does feel like one of those times Square Enix is going to, like, go all in on something and stubbornly stick to it for too long and then cancel the entire thing at the last minute.
I feel like this one is well understood enough that there is a very strong case for why this is a scam.
Yeah. Though SE has done this type of thing in the past where they've kind of gone all in with something. I'm looking at you play online.
God, that strategy guide is such an amazing example for talking about archival issues. Like, I got a couple library school papers out of that guide.
Yeah.
Those are just Tetramaster cards.
But I'm with Darth Zelian. I would rather have a $300 emote with a free statue. Thank you very much.
Will they let us just buy the emotes already?
That'd be nice.
I would pay so much money for those emotes.
The emote tax is incredible.
All right, so
we will pay for certain types of digital goods. This is known about us.
Mm-hmm.
Just let us look really cool while we do it.
Yeah, just don't make them NFTs. Make them something that we can all share.
If the NFT actually let me look cool, I'm pretty sure people would be in on that.
I just thought, like, NFT emotes, and my stomach dropped. Like, I physically felt it.
Oh.
Okay, so I don't actually believe in the law of attraction, but you should not speak such things into the universe.
Okay.
Did The Secret teach you nothing?
Yoshida wouldn't do that to me.
All right, guys, I'm going to give you a few more seconds to enter our giveaway here. We've got a few people in there because we're right at the end of the gaming community news here. If you want that Cruise Chaser mount, type in !pick me to get entered for that. We want to give it away to somebody who really, really wants it.
Oh my god, Chili, you are a prince among men. There is a website that is a remastering of the FF9 guide where you can type in the keywords.
Oh, wow. That's pretty neat.
It makes no sense, but it's beautiful.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and close our giveaway now. And our winner, Alshalant, you have won yourself a Cruise Chaser code. Congratulations. Message me at the end of the show and I will send you your code. I'm going to write down that you won the Cruise Chaser. And there is another giveaway that we're going to start here shortly. While these guys talk about the lore and fun things like that, we also have a lunar whale to give away. So look forward to that. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's start with the fact that it's been 7 years since this little podcast called Phoenix Down Radio got started. It's weird to think about that, isn't it, Seyrr?
I mostly just can't actually wrap my brain around it. Like, week by week, it's fine. But then when you say, oh, hey, this thing, like, developmentally would be having its first day of kindergarten, or actually it would be its last day of kindergarten, first day of... Why am I thinking about developmental milestones? Because it keeps me from having to think about the actual thing.
There you go.
If I sidetrack, I don't have to confront the feelings.
I was going the same direction. Like, I measure time and how old a child would be if they were born that day. So if a child was born the day this podcast started, it would be going into second grade, and that's just, whew.
That's scary.
So yes, At this point, our podcast should be able to dress itself easily or to catch a thrown ball.
I don't think we can do either
Oh,
of those.
that's
Sarah.
why we needed to wear pants.
Yes, because we have to dress ourselves properly.
Also, our podcast should be able to learn patience by letting others go first or by finishing a task before going out to play.
Oh, that's a developmental milestone for this particular year?
For ages 6 to 8, middle childhood.
Ooh.
Did you guys realize all that fun stuff about us? Wow. I don't think we're there yet, though.
Or we should be able to make clear rules that the podcast would be able to stick to, such as how long it can watch TV or when it has to go to bed, and to be clear about what behavior is okay and what is not okay. Our podcast should be able to process that.
Nope. We never learned that. We're underdeveloped, sir. We better keep going.
Wait, well, see, the thing is, that's what the podcast is supposed to be able to do. That's not necessarily us.
Well, thing is, Sarah, without us, there is no podcast. So we are the
Ooh,
podcast.
Does it have any, is it an emergent property of us?
Okay, now he's going too deep.
This is the risk. This is what I do instead of thinking about my feelings.
Let's talk more about, I've gone over this story a few times. When I first started this podcast, or before I started the podcast, I had just gotten into podcasts in general. I never actually listened to podcasts before the summer of 2015. I was doing a lot of running at the time, and it was something different to listen to other than, just a lot of music, through my earphones and stuff like that. And I found, a few interesting shows, about this game that I was really, really enjoying called Final Fantasy XIV. Things like shows like Limit Break Radio. Do you guys remember Sequence Break XIV?
Mm-hmm.
Or some weird show called what is it? Etherite Radio, something like that.
I think I've heard of that one.
Sounds like a flash in the pan.
Yeah, it's a terrible name.
Who even listens to a radio anymore?
Well, apparently we do, because we were also named after a radio.
Dude, the hypocrisy is funnier if you just let it hang there.
You know me, I don't do that.
Ugh.
And then I
remember.
Go ahead.
I remember when they actually announced that name. They were trying to think of a name for it, and not much had been announced about the game yet. And as soon as they said it, everyone else in the room, "Oh, damn it! I should have taken that one."
We know that there are etherites. Good enough.
But and then I actually reached out to a few of these the people who were running those shows, like Nero and Fusion, just to find out what it would take to do a podcast. Learning it wasn't as difficult as I thought, and then
there was definitely a lot of just kind of trying random stuff. Definitely some of those earlier episodes we were working on finding our voice there.
And that's kind of the beautiful thing about this technology, is the fact that you can do that. We ran it on really, my old computer here, and I think we were just using whatever headphones we could find and microphones. I think we had wireless headsets we were using at the time, actually.
I was using something fairly janky, but I can't remember what exactly at this point.
It wasn't terrible for what we had available, but we've improved on maybe a little bit over the last 7 years. But the fact that Seyrr, who was the first person I asked, he's the first one I thought of actually as a co-host, because even at the time we were in the same free company, and the free company was named Phoenix Down. Part of the reason for the name, part also because Phoenix Down is just a really cool item within the Final Fantasy universe.
It's got a long history, so we were reasonably certain it wasn't going to be obsoleted at some point or turn out to be like the blood of the Dark God or whatever.
Which surprises me that nobody else had actually done that. What, did my camera just lock up? It did.
Yes.
It did.
What the heck?
Great pause face.
Yeah, exactly. Give me 2 seconds here. See if it'll kick back in. I might just need
You
to
look like you're about to lose all your money at the ponies.
Oh no!
There we go.
He's back.
There we go.
Oh, I need to find that Hildebrand line about how you lost all of your money on the horse birds.
Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted by my technological failures, I was actually surprised that nobody else had used the name in a podcast form. I mean, it is such a ubiquitous item within the history of the game. It's been there since the beginning, really.
Treat it like a vanity license plate. Just never give it up. Just like keep swapping it onto new cars.
I'm never going to give it up. I'm never going to let it down.
No. No.
You like to hear it.
When I congratulate podcasts on milestones, the things I always highlight is that like anybody can start a podcast, just like
Indeed.
anybody can start a webcomic. But the number of people who start one and they do 4 or 5 and they go like, okay, the novelty is gone and the amount of realization of how much work this is weighing on me, and that's it, they're gone. So to keep it going for years and years and years requires like a work ethic and a resilience and a love and care for the medium that I respect so much, because I don't even know if I would be able to do that much like editing and overhead on my own. I just hop from show to show when I'm asked to and don't have to worry about any of that.
Which, yeah, I mean, and I've tried to make it as simple as that for Seyrr as well. He just needs to show up and bring me his brain.
Which I mostly manage.
Mostly. But no, I couldn't do the show without, co-hosts and guest hosts. And we've had some really good hosts out there. Luna, my best friend, she joined us for quite a while on this show. She was a great voice. I liked hearing what she would talk about within the game, and she's still playing it quite a bit. She's just very busy with her family in real life, so I completely understand that, but hopefully we'll get her back on one of these days. And then there was Tristan. He joined us on the first episode. Really nice guy. And unfortunately, there was just a few issues where
a lot of life stuff happened with him, and it ended up messing out.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie about this. I think a lot of it actually ended up having to do with me and just some little clashing of our compatibilities. So
you were slightly rougher around the edges back then.
Yeah, it was a very different.
I'm allowed
time.
to say that, right?
You are. I've completely agreed with that. And like I said, I take responsibility for my actions of the time. So. So Tristan, if you're listening, you were still an amazing, part of this show, and you always will be a part of its history. So thank you. And then we've had other, amazing hosts. Like we had Sayo Mayo joined us for a few episodes. He was a very nice guy. He did a little bit of the more raiding stuff and really loves Black Mage.
Mm-hmm.
Really was into Black Mage. And then we had this really weird Lalafell guy. He would just kind of stalk us for a while.
He's right there!
Oh, shit, he is right there.
He can hear you. This is going to be so awkward.
He can hear me. Chili knows we love him. Chili is probably one of the coolest things that we've had here. So Chili, you were an amazing part of this show. Thank you so much for being, a host in the past, a guest, just all around good guy and supporter. So we really appreciate you, man.
Please get more sleep and more plates.
He owns one plate. He only needs one plate. You can only eat off one at a time. God. As always, our best buddy Taliz Marvelous, he's still a great guy. We want him to get back here sometime soon as well. He's just been very busy with his real life stuff.
Yeah, I'm torn on that because on the one hand, I'd love to have him on and talking about more stuff. On the other, one of the reasons he may not be able to is because he's been is in the process of possibly ending up with employment opportunities that would be really cool and also not allow him to do as much public talking about games.
Yeah, which we're not going to get.
Still be really awesome for him.
We can't go into details on it because it's not our place to say anything about it. But
also, I think there's like actual legal. But yeah,
yes.
like on the one hand, I want you back, man. But on the other hand, oh my God, you should get that. That would be awesome. I hope they give it to you.
Absolutely. So regardless of what ends up happening with that,
the games industry is so weird.
It is indeed. which is part of the reason why we wanted to try and get Chamo here as early as possible before she was unavailable for similar reasons. I mean, we've already had bad enough luck with having some guests come on and then ruining it for other people.
Oh.
Potentially. Or
oh my God!
supposedly.
Did we ruin everything?
Yes.
Do I have an excuse to play the Crazy Ex-Girlfriend song?
No.
Oh.
No, Seyrr. No.
Oh.
But like I said, I remember one of the things that you had said, Seyrr, right at the beginning was, you'll do this as long as it's still fun.
Still having fun. Still having a blast.
So that says a lot. I mean, because it's not just about, the two of us, sitting and talking about Final Fantasy, whether it was 14 at the time when we first started the show, or, looking at the entirety of this entire game series, for the past 35 years. Just the fact that it's interacting with you guys too, live here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio. Come join us and follow if you haven't yet.
Honestly, yeah, that is one of the things that's kept it fun and fresh and interesting. If it was just talking into a void and repeating the same stuff, it would have felt a lot harder.
Yep.
But getting to see you all, getting to hear your comments and ideas and suggestions for stuff, getting to have these crazy folks and others on as guests, that's part of what's kept it really fun and fresh and interesting.
Yep, making it
like the entire thing that makes an MMO fun is getting to hang out and do stuff with other people.
Just reading your comment in chat. Damn you, Moose. You're such a troll. But no, I mean, I think, the live interaction. I know a lot of podcasts are recorded in advance and then released on a schedule. But for me, I've always enjoyed the kind of, I suppose it's closest analogy is going to be the morning talk show. The morning radio show kind of vibe that we're kind of throwing out, where we.
Oh man, I have so many SNL skits to show you later now.
Why is it every time I open my mouth, Seyrr has something that he can shitpost on?
I think it's amazing that there's like such diversity, like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Saturday Night Live, The Simpsons. For like 10 years, it was just Homestar Runner. I had just a Homestar Runner reference for everything.
See, that's
what Homestar Runner does too, though. Like, because I'm the same way. Like, that defined my vocabulary as a 10-year-old, and it never left.
Pretty much. I think I've shown you that picture, Chamo. The funny cartoon. My vocabulary is irreversibly altered.
Yes.
No, at some point, I thought that reference librarian meant making all the references, and that's where we ended up. Not actually true, but I like that story.
I can see you actually thinking that, Seyrr. Not really, but
I have had it suggested to be a meme librarian, and that is a thing that could happen because there's like an interesting Discord. I'm doing it again.
That's why we love you, Seyrr.
It's the way people communicated. Like, having a wide breadth of knowledge means that you can communicate with a lot of people. Also, the memes are funny. Okay, the memes are funny is the primary reason, and the other bit is secondary.
All right, we've opened up the giveaway for our second prize for this episode, the Lunar Whale. So pick me to join in on that if you want that. So please jump in on that. We're going to continue talking about the last 7 years of Phoenix Down Radio before we jump into some patch 6.2 spoiler cast and lore discussion. So
there's lore?
A little bit, 1 or 2 pieces I've heard.
Lore is whatever we want it to be. That is your power. Why are you not abusing it?
Seyrr, if you don't mind my asking you this, what was some of your favorite moments as a part of the podcast?
Oh.
And you can't say Vegas because that's mine.
I mean, Vegas is okay, but mathematicians don't go to Vegas much. Put me on the spot. I should have seen this coming. That's the thing, like, doing it for 7 years, at a certain point, it's not like this is the spike. Like, there's a certain continuity of experience where it's like, hey, I know I'm going to come here and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to chat with folks and I'm going to just like talk a little bit about what I've been playing and what I've enjoyed. And there's kind of like a nice day-to-day aspect of it. It's like when you're playing something like Okay, just to pander to Camo, when you're playing something like Story of Seasons. Well, yeah, we're totally pandering here. Or like one of those
Pander
farming
away.
type games. Where it's like, yes, there are like a lot of the special festivals, but a lot of what you really get out of it is just like the kind of day to day. Oh, hey, we're going to work a little more on this. Oh, hey, we're having this little gradual process, and it's getting to just like exist in this nice, kind of pleasant state. Where
That's why
it's
the
not
Nintendo Direct has like 10 farm games, because they know.
yeah, everyone has a craving for that right now.
We're kind of
It's
playing
not
it
about
right
the
now.
It's not about the dizzying highs, the terrifying lows, the creamy middles. There's another Simpsons reference for you. I could see Moose going for the nose bridge pinch already. It was great. This is one of the things I live for. But, I mean, like, that's fun for a bit, but then after a bit, it becomes like, you know what? Like, the nice kind of gentle, maybe up a double, just enjoying the vibe of things and not necessarily have. So for me, like it feels a little bit like a cop out to say it, but I don't have a this is this moment that punctuates it because it's about like this more general vibe that I've been able to just have running as an part of it, just running as an undercurrent throughout my life, as having like this is this nice little bit of stability where every 2 weeks I get to go to this place and talk for a little while about these games and hang out with these people. So yeah, it's less about that anyone thing and more about just kind of that continuous process.
The whole
Which
vibe.
again, I have managed to completely avoid the prompt, which is kind of one of the things I do. But that's kind of how it's been for me.
No, I mean, I think that makes perfect sense because I mean, you're taking it, you know, moment by moment, but just thinking about the entire thing as a whole, and it keeps you coming back to it and keeps you doing it, and that's just as important as a positive moment that you've experienced while doing it. So.
And I mean, I could certainly talk about like, times where afterwards we stayed on the stream chatting and started joking about different cooking things or about how Taliz had just purchased 2 or 3 cars because he has such a weird and interesting life, and it's great.
Yeah, he is.
He was
the most
running a
interesting
charity
potato on the
involving like
planet.
getting cars and fixing them up and like providing them to people in need. It was really cool.
It was crazy how, you know, the things that he was doing with his time and effort. The dude is just something else, and just bringing him in added a whole new spark and dimension to our
And I
group.
mean, and just in general, like that was the thing that, again, with an MMO and with this as kind of a accentuated version of that, meeting a bunch of random people, getting a peek into their lives, finding that all of these, like there's, I think the term is like sonder. It's like a thing in the language about the realization that all of those people that you see, each of them has their own private life with all this other interesting stuff going on that you can never really fully understand. And just getting to like get a little glimpse in and touch on that, it's like, it's this really compelling way to connect to other people that I really like.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, like, we were talking a little bit on the pre-show, like little kid Seyrr was a lot quieter, had a lot more difficulty connecting to and socializing with people. And it's just been this really wonderful thing to like start reaching out to and interacting with all these people, finding out that the world does have all this amazing stuff in it. I'm thinking about, if you asked me like what my life would be like or what I would want to happen in 10 years or things like that. And then 10 years later being like, I would never even have thought this was an option. I would never, this was like, these types of things were never on the radar, that people could live like this, that you could have people who go and just buy a bunch of cars or are working in these types of fields. Like, that the world is so much bigger and vaster and has so much more going on. And it's kind of nice to find out that, hey, I was wrong and I never could have guessed, and that the world is more interesting than I thought. So this has been philosophizing with Seyrr, which I will again do if given the slightest opportunity.
And he will.
Don't tell my dad. He will never let me live it down.
Yeah.
Dude's a philosophy major for his undergraduate degree, and he's been trying to get me to read philosophy, and philosophers are unreadable. But the act of it is pretty fun. But philosophers are unreadable.
I struggle with the German ones because the grammar's like backwards. So you start the sentence with this really long description and you don't know what you're talking about. And by the time you learn what you're talking about and the subject's at the end of the sentence, you're like, wait, what did he say about it?
I imagine it would be easier if you could read it in the original language, and a lot of stuff suffers being translated into English.
No more can't.
Or he was a real pissant. Sorry.
He was an interesting guy.
No, it is a Monty Python reference.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I think, aside from meeting people at FanFest in Vegas, that was probably my number one moment as being a podcaster. And it was very early on in our careers, by the way. For me, I think one of my most memorable things from this is when we started doing the soundtracks. I think that was one of the coolest things that we did as far as our show in particular is concerned. We're small enough to where, not a lot of people are really, knocking down our door or anything like that. But, on a larger scale, it could be potentially problematic. And I do understand that because, well, all that fun stuff with copyright and stuff. But the fact that we're able to share, the music out of these beautiful games with so many people it's been not only just fun to, go through the music again, but just reminisce on what we felt when we were first hearing that stuff in the games and what it brings up now.
It was really great also with those episodes, the audience response that we got, people who were talking about their own ones, finding out how many shared experiences they were, like as kind of a counterpoint to that world being vast and full of all these different things, how much shared experience there is in all that.
Mm-hmm.
That all these people with all these different lives and experiences had a lot of these kind of shared things of like, we like played this game, had this moment with it, affected me this way. It was like, just like this really beautiful counterpoint to it.
Mm-hmm. And being able to just, share a little bit of myself, with you guys, when we're talking about all these things, it's been quite a journey for me as far as, my personal life goes. Cause I'm not very eloquently spoken in most cases. And there's times when I have struggled with it here as well. But doing this has allowed me to kind of expand that and get a little bit better and more comfortable in this type of scenario where I am speaking, to people about different things like that. And it's odd to think about for me because I'm not the type of person who would normally put myself out there like that. I've been a very quiet, shy, reserved person for the most part. Yes, Seyrr, that is true.
Oh, I was just wondering if you'd started looking at the chat.
No, I was not. Anyway, it's helped me to be able to open up and talk about things a little bit easier. And I found that it's actually helped me in real life, to go for the things that I might have been afraid to go for. Because I didn't think I was, qualified or good enough, or just a number of different reasons why I might be trying to hold myself back just because of, how I feel on that. But being able to do some stuff like this has, opened my eyes and allowed me to kind of expand and get quite a bit further in my life than I think I would be if I hadn't been doing this.
It is weird how many different random skills we picked up from podcasting ended up being handy in like our jobs or interactions with others. Like I'm big on the all knowledge is interconnected type thing, but it's really fun to see that in practice.
It's just the weirdest thing, isn't it, man?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I've the fact that I'm able to share these things with relative strangers, the people who listen to our podcasts out on the podcatchers, I probably don't know 99% of you. But I thank you all for, for spending, an hour or two with us every other week and listening to us, talk about these things that we enjoy, and continue to do it for the past 7 years. Or if you're just, listening for the first time, I hope that you, want to check out some of our other stuff and continue to listen as long as we continue to produce this show. So
you should come join us. It's fun.
And you can definitely join us live here every other Saturday night as twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio. at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. But yeah, I think for me, that's kind of where I'm kind of seeing everything for us as far as the podcast goes. I want to continue to do this because you guys do continue to make it fun, and it's you know, I'm just thankful that you guys have allowed us to continue on. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for continuing to support us, and we hope to continue to produce mediocre content for for many years to come.
Klaus, are you being self-deprecating so that you don't have to think about your feelings?
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you for all
fair.
the work you've put into it, though.
No, you're not wrong with that, Moose. There has been a decent amount of work, but I think I've been able to really streamline that process. I remember our first few episodes, I actually went through and individually would get rid of spaces, quiet times. I would individually raise and lower the gain on certain portions to try and level it. This is before I learned about all these other tools that are out there now. So
They're tools?
Right now I can get an episode ready from when I hit that stop button to posting it out there in less than 2 hours. It took me like 2 days to do it before.
Those were some slogs I remember back then.
But like I said, it's much easier now. Like I said, when you do something for 7 years, you start to come up with ways to streamline the process. So that's helpful.
Incremental progress sustained over time.
Mm.
We're learning, people. But it was an entire skill that I had to learn.
Fine, I'll
audio
find that
production.
other sketch.
And Moose, I know you're no stranger to podcasting.
I'm like a professional visitor. I have no idea how to run one.
I suppose. But I mean,
No, there's a lot involved in that. It is kind of crazy, and I don't know how Klauss keeps doing it.
I don't know how I keep doing it. I think I close my eyes and then the underpants gnomes do it all for me, I guess.
You just enter a fugue state, and at the end, there's a finished podcast and also 2 dead bodies. And you're like, no, not again!
You're gonna have people digging through my backyard looking for corpses.
And that's how we get the earth turned over for your garden next spring. You're welcome.
Yes, this is what Seyrr does to me. This is what everybody comes for, though. They come to see Seyrr try and get Klauss to break, or they see if I can break Seyrr. That's basically the goal for people.
The students at our last training said I was the most chaotic librarian they'd seen, and I take pride in that.
Yeah, you're a chaotic evil librarian. So there. Though people, for everybody listening on the podcast or here live at Twitch, we'd love to hear what some of your favorite moments have been regarding our podcast. So we invite you to go out onto Twitter or the Discord or YouTube and just comment, what some of your favorite moments have been. We have some extra prizes that we're going to be giving away for people who comment out on YouTube, on Discord, and our website. So, it might behoove you to, go ahead and check that out. And if you want to win, we've got another cruise chaser to give away for YouTube. If you leave a comment on this episode's video. If you go into our Discord over the next couple of weeks and just leave a comment, say hi. I'll figure out how I want to give this one away, but we're going to be giving away a chocobo carriage mount. For the website, if you want to leave a comment on this episode's article page, we will have a Rubelite carbuncle to give away. So
I am just happy every time I see a chocobo carriage mount. Were chocobo carriages in 1.0? I'm not quite sure if my brain is. Okay,
yeah,
then
they were
yes.
the old out
Yep.
Yes, okay. Then they are a thing I have wanted to have since 1.0. And when I saw that it was a thing, I was like, hooray! And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll wait for a sale. And then a sale keeps happening and I forget to buy it. But I'm so happy that they exist.
I wasn't even presumptuous or arrogant enough to think I would
Camo.
ever one day be worthy of a chocobo carriage.
All right. Did it go away now, Camo? Am I good again?
Yes, it's gone. You just have the funny crown.
Yay. I like my Burger King
I
crown.
didn't even need to own a chocobo carriage. Just like if I could go and sit on it would be like the chocobo porter, except it's a chocobo carriage. I still ride chocobo porters from time to time just to enjoy the landscape.
All right, and just a reminder for you guys watching live, we do have that giveaway open right now. So exclamation pick me if you want to win a lunar whale. Seyrr, I'm going to ask you now to kind of lead the discussion with our lovely guests here, and we'll talk about some spoiler casts from patch 6.2.
All right. Well, as our fellow loremongers can see, we have copious notes here, by which I mean we are winging most of this.
Because that's kind of how you do best, I've found on these.
I mean, yeah, mostly we just start talking about it, and then we follow whatever threads happen to come to mind, and it ends up being something interesting. I'm still not 100% clear why it works, but I have mostly learned to stop questioning the magic.
Just
I
let
didn't
it
even
happen.
read these notes.
I've heard through the grapevine, Moose, that you're really bad at usually reading the notes of whatever show you're on.
I will over or under structure. That's really what it comes down to, is like if I read them too closely, I will be very, very prepared. I'll do a lot of studying. And then like if there's variance from that, I'm like, wait, where are we? What do we do? And then the other side of it is just like, I don't open it. And then I'm like, wait, we're talking about lore?
Yeah.
Well, usually if
So,
you're
like-
on an episode for whatever show it is, it's generally going to be a lore-centric type of thing. So
You know what?
I
am
I'm
going to
excited
get
know who's good.
I am going to get Moose on here for a cooking segment, just to prove you wrong.
Cool.
The man has depth.
and then we'll talk about the lore of whatever dish it was that he cooked.
Yeah. Do both.
Klauss,
I
I
curious
used
to
this,
know
this
who's on this-
panini press,
I'm curious
and
to
the
know who's
panini
on this
press had a
grapevine.
storied history.
Yes, this
Klauss, I need that stream reward I requested.
I don't even see which one you're talking about.
Oh, I may have suggested that as a stream reward, we need a thing that would like do an automatic spraying you with a water bottle.
No.
To be fair, I would also accept having this set up for me in exchange.
That would take quite the planning, and if we'd have to figure that one out.
Look, teledildonics is a thing. We can make this happen.
You're not wrong, but it's not generally something that we talk about on the podcast. That's the After Dark.
Whatever. Also, I just had the word teledildonics in my head, and I needed to make sure other people knew it.
So,
Hi, everyone.
on that bombshell, patch 6.2.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, big stuff lore-wise, we mostly had MSQ and Abyssos, though I guess we could probably squeeze some lore out of Island Sanctuary. We had some entertaining item descriptions. But okay, let's start with the MSQ. So, broad strokes, we had our first foray into, or technically second foray into the Void, because the first one was World of Darkness.
Yep.
This one, of course, rather than being a quick surgical strike, was a bit more of an exploration. We have the Void sent Castle at Troya, explorations of a couple of the other domains, meeting some of those elemental archfiends. Lots of stuff going on there. A little bit sad that we can't go back there and take pictures, though I suppose that's what New Game Plus is for. And so a lot of the stuff I feel that we got out of this, at least at first blush, was kind of getting the life cycle and sort of environment of the Void, such as it is filled out. Before, we've always had like, oh, it's the Void, it's empty, and it's just, that's kind of been the knowledge that Eorzean scholars had, and we didn't really have much beyond that. And we learned that, no, we do kind of have this Void Sent ecosystem, that we have life like life still exists, but it doesn't die. It doesn't go through the cycle that it does in more existing realms like the source, where things die, return to the life stream, are wiped clean of these experiences, are reborn. Instead, like life continue. These entities seem to continue to exist, can be absorbed by each other, resulting in this thing where you have combining almost levels of consciousness, such that void sent entities can become more powerful at the cost of significant marble loss as you have more and more consciousnesses being added. Really just a lot being filled out about this picture of what life in the void is like, and a lot of those details about the void sent that we've encountered.
Well, I mean, and for me, the thing that really struck me was, you know, when we went to the first, you know, we discovered that light was actually, you know, a stasis type of thing. You'd think that light would be life, but it was actually kind of really the opposite, where darkness on the 13th is actually where, you know, it's life, it's action, it's motion, it's movement. And that's, you know, having too much of that is what's keeping them from being able to actually pass on.
I was actually referring to it as Dynamis before we've had Dynamis become another thing, in part just because of the FF11 trauma that I wanted to keep alive.
Well, you'll have to keep that alive in a different way.
It's like dynamic. It's like the opposite of stasis. But then it turned out that Dynamis is feelings, which also kind of fits, though it was a very limited set of feelings that mostly included despair. And that's my FF11 trauma.
Shall I give you despair?
Dude, okay. How many link shells did you see fall apart over Assassin's Armlets?
3.
Oh, yeah, that seems about right. But
no, for me, it was all about the duelist hat still.
I mean, that too. But yeah, no, like, this wasn't... Kudos to the lore and writing team for pulling off this amazing retcon with turning the void into, like, given that it was just, okay, it was a void, it was this world that's destroyed, and then, okay, we've now established in our cosmology that it's this thing of, like, super active opposite of stasis. How do we make that work with it still being a void? So kudos to them for pulling that off.
I thought they did a pretty good job on that.
I was actually just like writing down notes. I wasn't sure where I was going to jump in, but like you just given me the jumping point for the thing I was writing down. I feel like they've done this amazing job with going like, okay, let's take something that's really cool and everyone likes, but we've written ourselves out of being able to do anything useful with it and retcon it into something we could get a lot of mileage out of. Let's create like a million opportunities to use it for lore. And the easiest way they could do that was just, hey, look at Shadowbringers. Like, we just, for the sake of really wanting a light calamity really bad and Yoshida being like, make it work, we retconned so much stuff about like the umbral eras and the elemental wheel, and now we can use that to reframe the void and say like, it's actually a lot more like Sin Eaters than you thought. It's actually a lot more mistakes were made by Eorzean scholars than you thought. It turns out there's so much potential for lore here. And I think that they've been able to take something that was really cool but wouldn't make content and opened the door to a lot of content.
That's really one of the benefits to having a diegetic approach where our stuff is learned by in-game sources, is people can be wrong about stuff.
Yeah, and I think, like, too, having this new perspective of the void, you know, going into it, we just had all these perspectives of, like, oh, we're summoning void sent, and this is how you summon void sent, and this is, like, all we know about the void. But then actually going there and talking to the void sent and, like, you know, seeing the one void sent talk about the Gridanian goldsmith, and then you realize, like, oh, we have this new perspective, and this is how it actually works from their side. We are now hearing their stories of being summoned, you know, to the source, and it's a very different perspective, and it's something that like was interesting going into, because you know when I first was kind of learning that, oh, we're going to go to the void, I was expecting more of a World of Darkness sort of, you know, scenario, and like aside from those funny little orbs that they kept in from World of Darkness, you know, it was a very different sort of void than I had ever imagined, and but it's not in a bad way at all. You know, Troya was a very very well made, love to know the voice center Italian, And it's just like it's interesting to see how they're going to kind of evolve the void from there, now that we have this kind of base information from their side of what's truly going on. When you're kind of, when you don't have enough ether to live and you're trying to, fight for every bit you can get.
Yeah. Especially like with the world of darkness we entered before, like we can understand that as now, okay, this is just another domain, this one belonging to the cloud of darkness. Right. So like it does, like anything where we get to take that previous stuff and kind of recontextualize it and get this new and better understanding of it, I really enjoy.
That's what I find most impressive, because like, okay, we boomers know that there's a lot of retcons involved here.
Oh, I hate that term, even though it's the right term. Like, we know that we came from a world where the developers were, like, in interviews and back-end comments and panels were saying, like, yeah, there's no aether there at all. There's no life or death there at all. It's just these essences that have no form, and they want to come into the world where there's ether and remanifest somehow and eat all that. And so we look at this and we're like, wow, there's been some big changes here. But the way they did it was, like, they were able, like Troya being kind of like a mental projection in a way of what that void sent wanted and was used to, and the way that it like sometimes changes without them noticing, and that they can, we saw Diabolos eat the queen, and they gave some like context to that and created this whole new lore about like, oh, you can eat them, but then your souls might merge a little bit, you might go insane, and it just created so much potential for content out of something that had none, and made sense of it. It didn't feel like a deep cut retcon. It felt like ooh, here's some new information.
And it's like kind of a shame too that like, they this is only going to be, I think, based on interviews, Yoshi P was saying that like this is all going to be resolved by the time, like before we get to 7.0. So, we're gonna know what happened to Astaya. We probably, there's gonna be a lot more Final Fantasy IV references. We're gonna have to fight Golbez and all that. And it's a shame because there was potential for like a lead into a Black Mage expansion. Like finally, this is our time. This is gonna be the job. Like Yoshi P plays Black Mage. Like I would think he was gonna do it by now, but now it's like, okay, no, we're just keeping the void here. So have fun with it while you can.
We'll have a great leaping off point for Wings of the Goddess, War of the Magi.
I would love to see that.
You're gonna get Femmet Selk in there one way or another, aren't you?
Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Hot female goth Emmet Selk on the Mahachi Coven.
And everyone will love her.
And Despair? Like, Femmet Selk has Galadriel vibes. Tweet that, Moose. Oh.
You're not wrong. That's what I think bothers me the most.
I hear that a lot.
Your people are bothered that you're always right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I speak disturbing truths. I speak truth into the world through shit posting. They have depth to them, and they're horrifying. And that's what I do, because it's fun.
And we speak truth to lack of power.
We can't handle the truth.
Most people apparently can't, thus the being horrified.
Somebody in chat mentioned, like, yeah, if 7.0 is void related, the job in the trailer is probably Reaper. And I know this deep in my heart, I know this, but I'm still waiting for the Black Mage expansion. I am. I just know that, like, Reaper probably makes way more sense now with what they've been, like, presenting to us. And, the relationship between, say, like, Zero and Xenos and, all of the connotations that kind of implies for the future patches, which is a little unnerving to me, honestly.
Yeah, let's step back and talk a little bit about that. The fact that Zero ends up being was Xenos's Reaper spirit.
Yeah.
What the?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's kind of like that. That was kind of, I don't think anybody expected that.
It's just like, okay, the void set you have is like, okay, it's this cool mechanic, let's use this. Like, no, Xenos' void set is her own character.
Yeah, and that was like honestly the best like plot twist of 6.2 to me, because I remember going in at the end of 6.1 and like seeing kind of Zero as a void scent kind of come up and say her lines, and I was like, no, please don't make this like a way to bring Xenos back. Like, you said he was dead, please, like, because they were very like, well, he's dead, but and that's what like unnerved me a little bit. But then seeing Zero become her own character, I was like, actually, I like her. Just seeing her kind of grow from that and grow from her experience, being Xenos' void scent, is a very interesting concept. And I think my biggest worry at this point is introducing this really cool new female character, knowing what I know about Final Fantasy XIV's story and all the really cool female characters.
On her.
She did.
That's what I worry about, because it's like, her name is Zero. Could be short for something else like Zeromus, and we already know that like Xenos was kind of her Zenus. So how is that going to evolve? Like, what are we gonna do there? And do we have to absorb her? Because even then, I'm gonna be like, really? She could have been a cool scion. Like, I feel like at this point in the story, they're really leading up to her kind of bonding with the scions and learning about the source. And I think it would be a great opportunity for her to learn about, the source and what a flourishing world looks like, and become part of the scions with her experience.
The whole scene where she eats the apple.
Oh, it's my favorite. Yeah. They're just like, no, you have to eat the apple.
With your teeth.
Good.
No, you go ahead, Moose.
Yeah, go ahead.
I follow a lot of weird lore circles anyway, so like I feel like they say this kind of crazy stuff about everything. So they were immediately like, yeah, this is going to be Xenos' void scent. And I mean, once in a blue moon, they're right. And it did kind of all come together and make sense. So the big thing that I was worried about was like, please introduce some kind of weird special context where this isn't just how we're going to shove Eden into the void and everything's going to be great. And they did. They added a lot of like cool nuance to why she was possible, and it ended up being like this weird RP backstory come to life. And the amazing part is I just didn't hate it. I actually really liked how they wove it all together and made something cool for her. But yeah, it does kind of feel like she already bred.
But now what I'm trying to figure out is there something special about her that she was able to be brought back from her void scent self with whatever remaining power, that was left in the crystal from Heidelin? Yeah,
they gave this weird like tiered explanation where she was like in the womb when her mother was corrupted, and then she was part void scent but not all the way, and then her form changed with all the darkness, and then we had that one crystal left over from Heidelin and we were like, here, eat it, and she slowed down and became her old self again.
But I mean, is that something that's just because she had this power that her mother had? I'm trying to remember what it was called again, but
the ability to crystallize. God, what was the name of it?
Yeah, the Memoria.
Yeah, Memoria. Thank you. But the fact that she was half corrupted at that point, because she had that other power, that's what it was allowed her to come back. Is that what we're thinking?
She's half one thing and half the other, and has heterochromia and a special power. OC, do not steal.
I think they just really wanted it to happen and we're like, here, make it work, to the lore team.
And that is a lot of it.
But also, Warrior of Light can't go around using the crystal and just reverse everyone.
Right. I think probably that's where like the half human part kind of sinks in there, where like, now it's like, well, why can't you do that with every other void scent? But I think that kind of connection to her humanity is probably what did it, along with probably her being, the shard of a potential Warrior of Light, may do it.
Possibly. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of an interesting thing. I mean, it just made me think, is this something that can happen to other void scent? But when you explain the Memoria thing, that kind of makes it more of a one-off situation at this point.
Hopefully, because it just feels like, I mean, like, let's start with I could get used to anything. If they introduce it right, I could get used to anything. I mean, tempering used to be the darkest thing in this game. Like there was no coming back from it. You had to kill them. That you never knew who the sleeper agents were. And now it's like glowing-eyed zombies and magic pixie pigs that'll just fix it right up. And there's part of me as an old school player that's just like, oh, that's disappointing. But I got used to it, especially because like the way that solution works, it was created by Alize, and that's exactly something Alize would do. So like I can get used to anything, but I do hope that this was just a special case for Zero, that this is not something we're going to be seeing complicating like the why don't they just use the time turner for everything? Why didn't the Eagles deliver the ring to Mordor kind of situation?
But
Chad is pointing out that Zero, they also mentioned that she fell into a dimensional crack and was able to escape a lot of the Flood of Darkness. Zero is being described as the Void Vothri. Which kind of works, even though I hate it, which means I love it.
But I'm wondering then, being we spent so much time, saving the first, I mean, are we going to try and use or potentially use this technology or this method to potentially repair the 13th? Do you think that's a possibility that we could go down?
One thing I'll throw in is that I alluded to this a little bit earlier, but if you have done the Shadowbringers role quests and the Void quests in that, and you go back and you talk to Unkahai and Sayela and all that, you can mention to them, hey, I went to the 13th. And they are appropriately shocked at first and then talk with you a bit about it. And for instance, Sayela talks about how she had those Memoria powers as well, though she lost that when pretty much when Elidibus came along and reduced her down to the form and took her to the first. So they do have some tie-ins with that. It does seem like they're considering how all these pieces fit together. And at least some of it may be pits that they put in to get around that, okay, you can't just have the super simple solution for it.
So with that, Seyrr, the fact... Well, wait, I'm just thinking that we brought Zero back through the rift, correct?
Yes.
So, in that case, she was not, reduced down from her original corporeal body.
Right. So Zero still has her powers, but like Sayela talks about, I did have this power once. I don't anymore because of this.
Okay. And I just had to, think about that for a second, because it would be an interesting thing. I mean, could we have ended up, screwing her over by taking her power away, by taking her away from the 13th? But I think she's all right.
First responders, you're not supposed to move someone if they have potential head and neck injuries. This is just the same thing, right?
My take on could we be setting up saving it is yes, but like next year. Like we're not going to see the ending, I don't think. When I say next year, I mean like next in-game year, the one that never comes because we're in the bubble. So like, Gangos, like the place we go for Save the Queen stuff. I think we're gonna get like a void Gangos. Like we're gonna save like a small piece of it maybe at most to prove like proof of concept. But I just don't see the team being like, yeah, an entire like kingdom of mobs. They're all solved. We're not going to use Void Scent for any more plot points. We're not going to use Void Scent for any more cool demonic monster designs. Void's over. We saved it. It's solved. I don't think there's going to be a point where every Void boss that we could deal with, we could just be like, here, eat this crystal. You're grumpy. Like,
yeah, I feel like that it's too big of a door to close, like especially in the future, like and probably for a bunch of all like the RP folks out there who are like, oh, this character has connections to Void, my character does this for cool Void Scent.
My character is half Sin Eater, half Void Scent. Don't ask how that works.
Yeah, like, and I think, they would want to keep as many possibilities open. So I do agree with Moose's notion of like, they may fix a part of it, but I don't think they're going to fix the whole thing. It just seems like it's too clean. Like, I don't know. It's too clean, and B, just the continuity would be so hard to keep up with after kind of fixing it the way we did with the first. I think, we've kind of already covered that ground in Shadowbringers, and I would be surprised if they just wanted to do that again, because in that case, it's like, okay, how many other worlds are we going to be fixing? And is it going to be the same sort of like, monster of the day, but with like shard of the day? Or are we going to like, find out that something is wrong with Vanadil and like jump into Vanadil? Like, it would be interesting. It would be cool, yes. But at the same time,
Intel gave us so much of a list, and only one of it was the bit where we go to the Void.
You just inspired me a little bit. I think you may have just
Also-
inspired my new theory. Go ahead.
Klauss, mark the scoreboard. I caused Moose physical pain by talking.
Seyrr, you cause most people physical pain when you talk, so I wouldn't.
He
brag
had
that
an
up.
eye twitch. Like, I'm proud of that.
When I heard Chamo describing that, the thing that just popped into my head was like Elidibus talking about how Elidibus kind of gave a different answer to everybody about what was going on in the first, but one of the things that seemed to ring true is that there's a sort of natural cosmic balance to things, and he may have left out the part where it wasn't as unstable as he wanted everyone to think, but we could leave it as like, okay, we all but a small piece of the first was destroyed, and now we've saved a small piece of the 13th, and together those things help that cosmic balance where they can both heal at kind of the same pace later after the game is over.
We just set up a couple ether siphons, let them run for a few millennia.
Well, in
terraforming is not a quick process.
It'll be like Eden, except instead of a gay rainbow crystal, it'll be like a Zero. Strikes me as like a non-binary ace type. What are the colors for that?
The ace flag is like purple, white, and black. We could have a nice ace crystal going on in the 13th.
That is 100%
I would like to see
void
it.
colors.
Yeah,
that's void colors right there.
He's not wrong. But what I was gonna say is, if they were to do just a small area of the 13th as kind of a proof of concept, so to speak, that where it's a process that we're going to be working on, it would still keep the door open to allow Void Scent and Void Scent bosses and things like that to continue to perpetrate throughout the game. I mean, we still have Sin Eaters on the first.
Yep.
Uncle Fenris notes in the chat that they introduced Arbear and Friends in 3.x, and that plotline didn't pay off until Shadowbringers, so who knows how long it might be until the Void is shared.
Yeah, but we were introduced to the Void in 2.x, so...
Right, but I mean, they're perfectly fine with introducing something and then revisiting it and having it be a bigger payoff much later on.
It's all part of the long con.
Also, as long as we get in there, I actually don't know why I hadn't thought of Zero as Zeromus, because the thing I had been shitpost hoping for is that Zero has some type of tie-in to Type Zero.
There is a thing with Type Zero coming out again soon, isn't there? Is there not? It's being
Type Zero doesn't get enough love, and I just want to see more of it.
I was surprised how much I like Type Zero.
I'm gonna disagree with you there, man. I did not like that game.
Dude, Type Zero is the thing that taught me why everyone, all of the world leaders want to kill the summoners, because oh my god, that thing was fucking scary.
I didn't enjoy Type Zero until I started thinking about it as Final Fantasy Persona, and then I was like, now I like it a little better.
I've never considered this, and I'm surprised I did.
I'm not a Persona fan either, so
I mean,
don't
also
at me.
I play the Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, and there's quite a few Type Zero characters in there, and one of them's in regular rotation in my party, so I think about them a bit more. Plus, they've got a cute archer guy. And they're gonna have Minwood soon! He's like a white mage, but he's a guy, and he's not like a bottom. Everything I said is accurate, and you cannot argue with it.
And we put Seyrr on mute, and let's continue on. No, I'm kidding. I always threaten Seyrr with that, but it never seems to work. He just keeps talking anyway. But yeah, Zero, I think, was an interesting character that was brought into 6.2. The fact that we were able to actually talk with a number of the Void Scent was quite interesting. They weren't completely, just after us for our souls and our ether. They were scared of us. That was kind of weird.
I think that also goes to show what the power balance is kind of like there, where you really need to assert your own kind of dominance in the void, to kind of prove to the other Void Scent that you're not worth trying to eat, because you will die if you try to eat me, kind of a thing. And I think that was very prominent very early on, especially when we killed Beatrice and we killed Scarmiglione for the first time. All the Void Scent just kind of cowered in fear, oh no, we don't want to talk to you. You had to kind of convince them, and oh, it's okay, we're not eating you, we just want some information. And I think that relationship is going to be prevalent throughout the void, no matter where we end up.
That's
our relationship with Zero has been highly transactional.
Mhm.
Like, she is not shy about saying, it's like, no, you pay me and then we talk.
Yep.
For sure.
Though what I'm thinking on this is because there's so much power struggle within the 13th, I thought that would have put that entire area kind of in turmoil where everybody would have been vying, to try and absorb whatever they could to take over.
Everything hits a Nash equilibrium eventually.
I think there's like a really organically natural process to that. Like the idea that everything could, like their society as a whole, their world society could break down, and the first thing that happens is everybody splits into feudal warlords and starts trying to gobble up territory and like literally gobble up other powers, and that it breaks down into multiple kingdoms, and it's just, I mean, they're immortal basically, so dog eat dog world. And then the only thing that matters ever again is ether and your word. So the only thing that has any value is your word. So now that's how they work with everything. They make deals. And I think that the fact that they introduced that lore in that way now helps explain the status quo that we've seen since 2.0, where the Void Sent are happy to work with people from our world if there's a deal in place, and then both people try to wriggle out of the deal somehow.
And also, it's like you see a crack into this world that is full of light and life and all this freely available ether. You get through that hole any way you can. Please don't clip that last line. That sounds terrible out of
It's like
context.
robbing a bank.
You're going to get clipped now, Sarah.
I know, that's why I said it.
Now, remind me, because now that I'm thinking about like how the Void works, when we did the the casserole quest for Shadowbringers, where was Tamar in the Void? Like, if so, like, was he just like chilling out with them, or was it more like a stasis for him?
That was
I think he was in like he was in like the dimensional
worlds.
rift.
Okay, so he hadn't like quite made it there. He was just kind of chilling in between.
He was like in the thing between world.
Okay, so that, yeah, I was gonna say, if he had made it to the Void, I don't know that he would have survived. He was just a little kid trying to learn magic, but yeah, it's good that he landed in the lands between, I guess.
Yep, he's in the thing where time moves at different rates until it doesn't.
Yeah, the Louisewall Rift.
Ah.
All right.
You just stash your adventures in there, and then you get them out later. And like over time, their flavors have mellowed and blended. Or sorry, over lack of time.
So the fact that we killed two of brain work here, come on, Golbez's
the elemental
minions. What does that seem like we're maybe moving at a little bit of a fast pace on this, or did you enjoy the fact that Scarmeleon was the dungeon boss, and then Barbaricia was the trial boss? Did you like how they did that?
I know some people were a little bit disappointed that they didn't have Scarmeleon as a trial boss. Felt like it kind of diminished his importance. But having him as something that comes back repeatedly felt like it fit more with the Final Fantasy IV style there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, putting him there I thought was a better spot to do it. And he was the lowest of his generals, correct? Even in 4?
I mean, he's the first one that you face. Like, I know there's in terms of level, but level is an RPG abstraction for the sake of making the game mechanics work, so I don't hugely like relying on that too much.
Okay.
I took it as just kind of like another Four Lord situation. Like, we didn't have Genbu, so like it seems like it's just a math thing. 6.2 to 6.5 is 4 patches. We've got 4 things to fight. We need to keep a certain pace. There needs to be a certain midway surprise. So it just like, so far, it just feels like they're setting it up for Lord style.
Yeah.
Okay. And that'll kind of, we'll talk a little bit about that particular thing again, also when we talk more about the Pandemonium story, because that also had some really interesting pacing that we're going to talk about.
I also just want to mention, because I saw a few people comment about this and I really want to support it, I appreciate that they had Barbaricia as, okay, we have the traditional hourglass figure, super sexy, and then she goes full Pixar mom. Like, big,
really like
powerful
that.
woman. Like, it was just kind of nice to see some female representation that was just like, okay, no, big, powerful woman that can kick your ass. That is slamming her fists on the arena and it is hurting you.
Darth Zellion in chat is saying we actually have 5 villains, you know, if you include Golbez. So I guess it does make sense that you take 2 of them out right away.
Yeah, if we're going to include Golbez in the series, then that would make sense.
I mean,
that's what I thought they were going to end up doing.
We'll probably end up having to take him out at some point.
I actually stopped comparing it to Four Lords midway because, like, when I say that, like, that surprise in the middle, I thought we were doing the same pacing there and we were building up to fighting the central thing, the thing they were all binding. Like, I thought we were going to fight that, and we never did. So we could get any twist in the middle. It could be Golbez, it could be not.
Yeah.
I mean, like, losing the opportunity to fight him would suck.
It does seem like they went to great pains to avoid saying anything definite about Golbez. I know some people were pointing out that with the phrasing of stuff, we don't even have confirmed that Golbez is a void sent.
I think it would make sense either way, but there's a really interesting factor to pointing out that he's not, is that it creates a really good in-world excuse for the 4 Archfiends to exist in the first place. Because if the Void Sent only follow other strong Void Sent, they won't follow Golbez. So Golbez needs to basically build up other things for them to follow so that he can control that small group of things and then have full control over everything else.
And it could make sense for Golbez to come from somewhere else where there is lots of extra ether and be doling out some of that to his generals.
We may have somebody joining us here shortly, so give me just a moment. I gotta make a couple
Surprise
changes here.
guest.
Yeah, we have a surprise. Well,
but in the meantime, we could go ahead and start talking a little about Abyssos and Eric's daddy issues.
God.
I feel bad for Eric. I mean, like, I felt bad for Eric because he seemed like, you know, that guy that he was for sure bullied at school, and you know, you go and you learn about his issues and you're like, I pity you, sir. I do, but your parents have a complicated relationship and we're just kind of watching it happen. And it's interesting because you know, the whole like pandemonium thing really got me thinking about like La Habrea, the La Habrea that we saw, the cool, calm and collected La Habrea, and the La Habrea that we know, who is absolutely like not this. And a little closer, closer to Hephaestus. So I'm wondering, like, how that happened if the La Habrea we met is actually a little bit closer to Hephaestus, and how that would have happened. I think I'm more interested to see how that kind of evolves, and if we're going to learn about that within the next tier.
Yeah, I have wondered if maybe the La Habrea we initially met back in the 2.0 stuff is the same one, like which one we did meet. Especially since we had this was the one that was never fragmented, but it turns out that he did fragment himself in a different way. And
all right, can I go ahead and we can put a quick pin in this, and we'll bring in our good friend that we talked about a little bit earlier. Taliz Marvelous. Taliz, hey buddy, how's it going?
Hey,
what's going on, my dudes?
Oh, and now he is on video when he screws it.
I can be.
Turn it off real quick. I'm sorry. The way we're set up right now. Apologies. As much as we'd love to have you on video, my friend, we're not quite. I didn't quite set up our
hang on, this is doable. Turn on your video.
Jesus Christ. Hi everyone, I'm Fair Timono. It's nice to meet you.
Actually, now you're Anonymoose.
Oh, that's also fine.
The point is, a bunch of body switching happened. I became a disembodied spirit, like you do.
So that's our settlement on patch 6.2, body switching in Final Fantasy. But anyway, how's everybody doing?
We're doing well. How have you been?
Oh my God, grad school and working full time and application processes for the second largest media company on the planet. I have so much gray hair, like you have no idea. It's been.
I just see green hair.
You dyed it.
It's all green to us.
It's anyway. Happy 7-year anniversary, I suppose. That's pretty solid.
Thank you, my friend. You've been a good part of it as well. You know, we talked, you know, about the good times that you brought on. So
this was like, I mean, I was at the last. Wasn't I hosting the last 2 anniversary episodes before this one?
You were in on
Sounds
5
about
and
right.
6, I believe. Yes.
Jesus crud. All right. Well, anyway,
Time is weird.
time is a linear pile of soup as far as I can tell. I have no idea what day it is most of the time, but
That's not how lines or soup work.
and that is why it is a problem, Sarah.
You're not wrong.
So yeah, the application with the NDA company is going pretty well. 2 months left, and then I'll have my master's, which will be super nice.
Nice.
And I either get to buy a house here in Washington or figure out how to live somewhere closer to Seyrr.
Oh,
That's
wow.
my 2 career paths right now.
Neat.
Yeah,
Seyrr,
I
you
haven't
need a
told-
roommate?
By the way, for all the listeners, I didn't tell Sarah that until right now. It's
I mean,
an
I
SF.
I
Financial
just
business.
got it. I just got a 2-bedroom, but I was planning to use the 2nd bedroom as an office and gaming area.
I'm gonna be congratulations on not having 7,000 roommates again. Wayne, fuck you. I didn't need you. Land, damn it. Anyway,
This is what we get when Taliz just pops in.
I mean, okay, if my hair, my name's an adjective, my hair is a secondary color, and my hand is holding bread. Like, I don't know what you expect from me in this parking lot here on our Final
Bread.
Fantasy podcast.
I expect you to use that bread to feed pigeons.
Is that Shokupan by any chance?
It is in fact Shokupan.
Oh
We
hell
were just
yeah!
talking about that.
It's kind of how he rolls.
Let's see here. The king of the Dagashi. The thing I originally joined the show for was to talk about food. So you know what? Here. Today yo, what's up? All right. This is Mexican chicken tomato flavored Korean chips.
Wow.
That is a lot of. I was not sure where the adjective was going to stop in the noun. was
At
gonna
no
begin.
point during that sentence do you know what the next word is.
Sarah, can you give us the lore behind those chips, please?
You put a bunch of ether into a chip and then it hurts your tongue.
Please look
Am I
forward
wrong?
to it. I don't know what to say to that. I've also got some black pepper crab flavored cup noodle.
Ooh, that sounds good,
Ooh.
actually.
That
And
does sound good.
then whatever the fuck this is.
It, loo-
Ooh.
it looks kind of like caramel popcorn, at least from what I
There
can
it
see
is.
of it.
It's rice crackers. There's the
Oh.
one I was looking for. Okay, last Dagashi snack, and then I will say my thank yous to everybody for it, and then I'm gonna part ways with you. Roasted chicken wing flavor chips as well.
Very cool.
So, anyway, so to Klauss and to Seyrr, thank you for being amazing gentlemen that have taught me so much about radio and hosting and public presentations, which has come in really, really handy multiple times. It's been super fun to learn. To the 14 community that I used to get to play with, I have not played since like 5.3-ish. So I still have the back end of Shadowbringers to finish and then all of the next expansion as well. So
You are in for some fun times.
Grad school will do that.
grad
Yeah.
school will kick my butt, but I finish in Sunday is the end of week 4, and then I have 2 more 4-week classes, and then I am done. So December, if anybody could help me like remember how to play, because it's been a minute, I would love to hang out with the community again. I'm still on Hyperion. I'm not going anywhere from that. But
We
thank
could
you guys
maybe
all for being.
stream
And
something with you and get it going.
I feel
Yep.
the need to point out I taught you how to play Genshin Impact. I can manage this.
you did teach me how to play Genshin Impact. I didn't like it, but I did play it, and I understand its benefits. But seriously, thank you guys for being an amazing community and such an amazing game. I'm getting the tattoo that we both have. I'm getting that one retouched next
Nice.
month.
Very nice.
So that's going to be really exciting to kind of come back to 14 with a freshly healed Warrior of Light tattoo. But thank you guys, all of you. Seriously, 7 years is no small feat. More than 10 episodes is no small feat. And you're on episode, what, 190 something?
173.
173, yes. We've taken some breaks.
Remember
too.
when we celebrated episode 100 together?
Yeah.
That wasn't very long ago, dude.
No. Remember when we started doing the music podcasts or the music episodes? That wasn't that long ago either.
We're on FF13, but we're about to start FF13, or we'll start at some point FF13.
Yep.
I would love to. I mean, 8 weeks from now, I might be able to start coming back. As long as we don't talk about video games and we talk about video game related things, I might be okay. I'll have to check with the legal team.
Yes, do that first. We don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
But before I part ways with y'all, if anybody is free on Friday after Thanksgiving, I run a tabletop Final Fantasy game, and I've been running it for 2 years, and it is our finale episode, our final session, that they are fighting the final boss. They don't listen to the podcast, so I feel safe saying this. One of the mechanics I want is for all of the Warriors of Light to come together and help them fire the final shot.
I mean, it's a Final Fantasy thing. That has to happen.
I have Discord, and I am on the PDR server. I don't know how that might work. Maybe it's a Zoom invite. We'll figure it out in the future. But I would love to turn a screen and tell them, you are not alone, and have as many of you pop your cameras on as feel comfortable and join us for that final attack.
Give it when that comes up. Give us the details. We'll put it out on Twitter. We'll put it in the Discord. We'll try and get as many people involved with that as possible, because that sounds like a really cool idea.
It'll be super fun. I would definitely love to have all of you. Seyrr, you're already canonically in the game, so that'll be fun. You join us. I made you a librarian. It's fine.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Okay, homies. You all also, Klauss, you are in the game. You work with Sid at the Ironworks doing all of their IT support.
That tracks, okay?
which Pyrocat's fucking loved, by the way, because she also worked in IT.
Well, that sounds awesome. Dude, give us, when that comes closer, give us more of the deets. We'll definitely try and get as many of our listeners in on that. Anybody who's a fan of the show, fan of the game, whatever, we'll try and make that work, all right?
Just like hanging out on random Discords.
All good. All good.
We'll figure it out, so.
You all rock. Have a wonderful 7th anniversary. Enjoy talking about patch 6.2, and I will see you next time. Until then, mata-mitane.
Bye. Okay, thank you for jumping back in there, Seyrr. That was a nice surprise.
I was ready.
That was a very nice surprise. So thank you very much, Taliz, for jumping in like that. We do really appreciate it. I hope you listened to this after the fact. I hope you listened to the things that we said about you before, you know, how actually amazing we think you are. So
Don't listen to the discussion. It's going to spoil the hell out of things.
yeah, be careful of that part. You're not wrong. I mean, if you want, it depends on if he wants to get fully into the game again or not. So
I mean, I just helped Spender's brother through the final day, the last fight of 6.0 today, because his graphics card had exploded, so he wasn't able to get to it. And just like again, that whole like, okay, let's have the most Final Fantasy end thing possible.
very fair. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump back in. We were just starting to talk about Abyssos.
Yes.
Where did we leave off? We talking about Eric's daddy issues. I saw that.
And talking about like the La Habrea and the various versions of him and the split off of him. I'm kind of curious about one of the points I keep going back to is so we got to see more about Athena, who is contender for Mother of the Year right there.
Yeah.
And the idea that like she has this like idea or like the meme before it became the thing of like a funny internet picture was this way to talk about like an idea as kind of like behaving under the ways of living things as it gets like transmitted, as it combines with other things and grows and evolves, and its population can grow or shrink. And so you have like, okay, she has this meme, this idea that's apparently such a potent mind virus that La Habrea cleaved off part of his mind to contain it. Which that alone was a really captivating idea to me. I'm kind of wondering. No. I click the cursed links, yes, but I don't know how to end this sentence.
I had a really like weird run through the second layer too, because I was totally ready for for La Habrea being revealed as not being stoic about Athena's death at all, and not being stoic about how he treats his kid at all, and that there's a lot he's suppressing and repressing, and that this was somehow all about reviving Athena in a way. And I was ready for all that, and I didn't know if it was going to be like one guy, split personalities, like him regressing to an old form, a second version of him. I was surprised it was an external second version of him. And now it just like right when I'm feeling in peak, like, yeah, I've got a good grasp on this, it's like, by the way, Athena was a monster. What? So like, there are two things that I think really stood out to me. The first was like, why is Hephaestus so close to the La Habrea we knew? Like you guys were saying, like, why is that so much closer? Like, we were all debating whether it was going to be old man La Habrea or Eric taking over for him that was going to be the La Habrea we knew. And now we've got this third semi Hephaestus guy who acts much more like the La Habrea we know. So like, did he look at the wrong crystal? Is this just how he always is when he snaps? Like, I'm really curious to see where that goes. And the other thing I picked, oh, go ahead.
I mean, they know that, like, okay, we had these three who escaped the Sundering, who managed to be in the Dimensional Rift, whatever, and La Habrea was one of them. So it's like, how did Emmett Selk and Elizabeth, if it was the other one, how did they not notice something was up with this beforehand?
My thought with, you know, aside from like we have this new kind of Hephaestus in the picture that may be the La Habrea we know, I also kind of considered the possibility that like the only way I feel that like Elidibus would be able to really like bring back the full La Habrea would be if you know, if he knew him like very well, which is why there's still a part of me that thinks that maybe like somehow Eric is the La Habrea that we end up facing. And you know, now that we have this weird like this weird pandemonium in the etheric sea,
the
you know,
Aetioscope.
In the Aetioscope, we're kind of going to find out, like, I mean, I would assume we have to find out at this point, like, who is the real La Habrea at that point? Who is the one that we knew? And is it all of them? Is it one of them? Like, how did it happen? And I think there's still a possibility, like, to me, I still feel that there's a possibility that they could just like totally plot twist it on us and yeah, it was Eric the whole time. And then I'll feel bad because I pity Eric.
Everyone feels bad for Eric. I have seen so many sweet memes about him.
Now,
imagine if it was all of them. Like, imagine if there was a point where like Eric took over and then he couldn't deal with what was going on and he looked at the Hephaestus crystal and it was everything at once. Like, it would be, there's so many great opportunities for tragedy in here and I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, we know the Charlayan researcher was called to, or was like going to Azazla, and there was that interesting thing in the translations about whether there's something that was like kind of calling and beckoning to him.
I was like really, I latched onto that too, like the idea that one of the crystals was calling to the other, and it's like it's only in English. So I can't figure out if there's like an extra hint that we're supposed to be following,
which it wouldn't be the first time.
Or if it's the fact that it seemed very random and plot contrived in English was like, let's just give a little reason.
Also, wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, it's hard to say. The other thing that's really sticking out to me is like when we, let's say 5.3 to 6.0, in there we had numerous references as they were trying to connect everything together and clean it up to that the ancients knew about the echo and they were way better at it than we were, and that they understood all of its powers. And we get to Pandemonium and La Habrea's talking about how there's no way to transcend the flesh. And I'm sitting here like, ain't that like the true power of the echo, according to you in 3.0? How did none of y'all know what we knew the echo's main power as yet? So I'm curious if that's what Athena's up to, if like she was the first transcendent of the flesh, or put it in La Habrea's mind and he's the first transcendent of the flesh and blah blah blah. But like, yeah,
there is that, you know, that part at the end that they do the thing they do the thing, and that's like that immediately called to mind, the end of Heavensward, where they're like, I am become one, and that would be like, if that's the case, then we have to assume that Athena is still involved in some way, shape, or form to the current La Habrea.
Yeah, like that was a dead-on recreation of the Asian Prime merge, and like I don't know, something about it just says to me that this is a big long con, and I think
I use the word mind virus for a reason.
The thing that like I find exciting about it is that like if this is some long game by Athena to reappear in the future, this is the worst time for her to appear because it's right after all the threads of time coming together as Vana had done. So it's like on both ends, before and after the bootstrap paradox, which means she has a lot more freedom to cause trouble.
That could be
for a
interesting.
while, like when there was a question about, okay, why did pandemonium appear now? One of the ideas I had been mulling around was the idea that like this consciousness, this mind thing of Athena had always been down there. It had just been suppressed by Vana. And we went and like, once we removed that thing from the live stream, oh, hey, now there's room for this. It seems more likely that it's whatever happened at Aziz Law that kicked it into gear, but I at least liked that idea. We wrecked it again.
I think the biggest thing that really messed with me as we proceeded through the second circle was the fact that we got through, we beat up, the other half of La Habrea, the part that he plucked off, and then that caused all of this. But then, oops, we lost. Come back.
We have
There
Camo
we go.
back.
There,
Hey.
she's back. All right.
All right, for some reason Discord decided to crash. It does this sometimes.
It happens.
It's a lovely time. The fact that now Pandemonium is in where the Ateoscope is on the source.
So I had also wondered I had wondered about, okay, we're clearly going to have a third thing, and then it felt like it was wrapping up too soon. So this is how. But so our first one was Asphedelos, and that's the Greek reference there. And all the various things were like the various limbos, like the stagnant limbo or the fervid limbo, and limbo being technically like the top layer of hell in Dante's Divine Comedy. I think the Catholic Church has never actually. Anyways, but it was this thing that was like technically top layer of hell, but this thing that exists for like people who, for instance, were born and died in a situation where they never could have been baptized, or other things like the virtuous unbaptized. Where
Right,
it's like, okay.
and they even like call it in Japanese, like the limbo arc, because this is kind of their equivalent of limbo.
Right, and so you had that, and then the next one, this has been the various purgatories. Which separate from a hell, it's this thing where you're not allowed into heaven yet, but you can get in there. We just have to like purge all the bad bits from you, and that's why it's the purgatory. And so I was like, okay, are they going to continue to have kind of nether realms, or is it going to be like a Divine Comedy hell, purgatory, heaven type thing? Which, I mean, honestly, no one's read anything beyond Inferno because the other two are boring, but still.
But what do you think that's going to mean now that Pandemonium is in the current time on the source? Could this be where Athena really decides to fuck with everybody?
Like, I do wonder if we're even going to actually get Athena, or if it's just like her ideas. And again, that's sort of like this it feels somehow more menacing for it to be her ideas than for it to be Athena in the flesh, so to speak.
Well, she was working on merging things to begin with, especially like the people and the creations. And it feels like there has to be a brick landing there. It feels like that has to be building up to something. There has to be some kind of like fruit of her research at the end of this journey. And the part that like gets me is there's like a little uncertainty, and I haven't figured out a way to kind of spin all the Rubik's Cube pieces together, is you've got the project Athena was working on. You've got the fact that Elidibus has been kind of nudged by Azem a little bit, as if Vanna's plan was kind of wrapped up in this somehow. You've got in the past Elidibus talking about Pandemonium like it's a beast, and you've got now Athena and soul splitting or soul merging and transcending the flesh and this whole time jump thing. And it makes me wonder, like, what part's going to be the deep meaningful part and what part's going to be just kind of like a shallow background part that makes it all work. Because for all we know, like, this is all just setting up like a Pandemonium as proto Zodiark, like an experiment gone wrong, and that someone was going to originally wield it like her style, like where you merge with the creation. And I don't know, we could be anything.
So this is becoming Evangelion confirmed.
Oh no!
Isn't it
gosh,
always?
it kind of is.
Just want to throw out there one thing that ended up sticking with me is the last area where P8 happens. The name of it is just the name really struck me. It was the Stygian Insenescence cells, and Stygian is just like kind of this deep dark thing. It's related to Styx.
Yep,
Like
right.
kind of, yeah. But in senescence, senescence is kind of like the process of like aging, like like when DNA ages. And so in senescence, it's kind of like this sort of stasis thing. And we saw like these huge capsules full of this DNA looking type stuff. Like, do they store the concepts down there in like DNA form so they could recreate? Like, just that entire method of storage and everything looked really weird about it. And I feel like there's something going on there. Plus, it's creepy as fuck if you've seen the P8S transition video.
Not to mention, like, you know, there's a reason why all of these creatures are in Pandemonium. It's to lock them all out because they don't want them leaving into Elpis. They can't handle Elpis. They'll cause havoc in Elpis. So it's very likely that, you know, the reason these things would be like formed as just DNA is because, like, put into physical form, they may not be able to control that level of power.
I hadn't been paranoid about the multiple uses of the DNA thing yet, because I didn't notice that it was in two separate design structures, monster and environmental. If it was only one, I'd be like, oh, it was just a cool idea they threw in, like when you have that huge evolutionary tree of life hidden in the floor in Bahamut.
Right.
But no, that's two separate teams adding weird DNA references. Maybe I should be more paranoid about it. Uh-oh.
But whatever they end up doing with it, it's going to be quite interesting because this has been quite the story.
I remember it came up in one of the discussion things on, I think, your Discord server, Moose, about someone had been asking, okay, why did we have to have all these random fights against the monsters? Why couldn't we just have, like, the various things get the Hemetheos? And someone else responded, pointing out that, like, it goes to establishing the threat. Look at how terrible and dangerous these monsters are on their own, and now you see why merging with them is such a threat. And then if you have these things that, kind of like you're saying, they're too dangerous to even exist in physical form. Like, it's a really interesting way to kind of hint at or give this idea for how dangerous this is without having to spell it out in text form, which often kind of it's a kind of a show don't tell thing. So if that is what they were going for with that, a really inspired way to do it. If not, way to accidentally stumble onto something amazing, dev team.
I mean, there were like interviews earlier on before the patch that I think like Famitsu or like 4Gamer did, and Yoshipi was talking about like the environmental backgrounds for Pandemonium, for Abyssos, and he did like mention there was a lot of specific detail put into them. You know, he wanted them because there was so much feedback about you know, like P3 that it was just so hard to look at unless you had some kind of like filter. You know, they really worked hard to give meaning to each sort of background for each level of Abyssos and kind of make it as pretty as they possibly could, knowing the context of Pandemonium that it was still like, it's Pandemonium. It's not going to look super pretty, but we're going to, you know, do the best that we can in that context.
This is a warehouse.
Yeah, you know, and I think they really pulled it off. And you know, like we're saying, if they really put in that meaning of the DNA being kind of a symbol for like things that they can't even put into physical form, then like even more so, like, you know, I think they were actually thinking about this based on what Yoshipi was saying in past interviews.
They've definitely brought a lot of interesting things in with this, and I appreciate the fact that they're really going out of their way to bring us something different in the storyline here. You know, not just going back to some of the same old tropes that have worked for past Final Fantasies, but that they really, you know, made it a, you know, something that's specific to Final Fantasy 14, and you know, it's a lot of fun. You know, the ideas that they're coming about, you know, with the Unsundered, kind of expanding on that entire storyline and giving us some different things to discuss, you know, before, you know, the world was split and we have what we have right now within the game. So
one thing I do want to mention too, now that we're talking kind of like tropes within 14 or kind of new things within 14, is that it's interesting to see the parallel between La Habrea as a dad, you know, getting his own kind of dad arc here, and Gaius in his dad arc in Whirlit. Like there's a little bit of a parallel there that like kind of bugs me almost, because it's like, how many dads are you gonna forgive here? Like, you know, it's interesting to me.
You know, part of me is just happy that they had an abusive mom for once, just for balance.
I guess, but like, I
But also,
know,
yeah.
They even look alike on the poster.
They like have to be related somehow in terms of like if well, no, because La Habrea has to be unsundered, so there's no way. It's just some really weird coincidence.
Well, if Eric is our La Habrea, then the other La Habrea is free to be sundered into
No.
at least his dad.
Eric got sundered and he's Gaius.
Oh my god. I can't. I just like.
Sarah, you're fired.
Go back to
I
2.0.
deserve that.
Go back to 2.0 and imagine like our first poster villains, right? You've got your Thancred looking, kind of like fuckboy looking, you know, cowl kind of guy, right? And then you've got your full armored Judge Vader, and they have nothing in common, but they form this like Shang Tsung Quan Chi deadly alliance. And 10 years later, we find out they're practically identical depressed dilfs. And
this is why you tune in live,
I never
folks.
would have guessed.
This is exactly what I was hoping for with this show, so thank you.
I don't think it can make that into the title, though.
Identical depressed dilfs.
Oh,
That
no.
would definitely be demonetized.
Oh, whatever. The FF14 player base is very queer and thirsty as hell. We
Yeah.
could probably get away with it.
No, they would be fine with it. It's just all of the podcast platforms, not so much.
This is anti-dilf prejudice.
Who would have ever thought that they would end up like just both looking so similar?
It is weird. It is weird.
Yeah.
I have to think they did consider this, but on the other hand, maybe they just like. I would be interested to see like who designed both of them, because if it's
Maybe
like the
someone
same
has a
designer,
type.
yeah, like I don't know. I don't know.
So many great and funny things have happened to Gaius completely on accident that I think it would almost be funnier if they didn't notice.
I wouldn't put it past them. Like, it is possible if they had like different designers and they like, you know, just looked at each other's designs and were like, oh hey, you know, it's just like, you know what, it works. We can work with that. Or if the like Yoshi P like made the order to be like, yeah, I want him to look like Gaius for reasons.
Gaius just has this energy.
I just can't handle it. Like, I feel like every time they look at Gaius's character, they're just like, oh, beans. Like, wait, what did we do?
I think. Do we have anything else that we really want to talk about regarding Abyssos and?
I find it slightly problematic that Hephaestus splintering off that bit of himself made him wider. I'm just gonna throw that out there and see how it explodes.
Okay.
Dude, you've seen the stuff I told Moose to tweet under my name.
Seyrr.
I am gonna get canceled somehow, I swear it.
No, we don't want to cancel Seyrr. He's too precious to us.
Aw.
I already live in constant fear one of my tweets is going to like leave the intended audience.
Okay, did you guys want to talk about Island Sanctuary a little bit? We've been running pretty long here, but
it's kind of cool that Merylwib keeps having these initiatives. I always liked hanging out at Red Rooster Stead and working on leaves.
And this time she's not like, well, I'm hoping she's not like accidentally taking anybody's property by doing it. And by accidentally, I mean on purpose, because she's done it before. You know, I wouldn't put it past her to be like, oh, I'll just take this. And then like, you know, there's another tribe out there who's like, excuse us. Like, you know, I would hope.
Destiny.
No. I would hope with her knowledge of the Sealed Alliance that she knows like, you know, what's out there and what isn't. So I want to hope that she's learned her lesson with that. But I do appreciate the fact that they like made explicit lore that she like, you know, went to the Coles and she got you like a little like outfit with booty shorts. I think that's great. You know, I think that like when you're at Lalafell it's even funnier because I was telling like my friends it's just like you were imagining like Merylwib going to like the Babies R Us or the Gymboree to get like a Lalafell sized like, you know, farmer's outfit. And she's just like there, just, okay, I'm going to send this. I'm thinking specifically for the Lalafell and Warrior of Light. Here's your little outfit. Please enjoy, you know.
It came with a rattle that looks like an ear of corn.
Oh, man.
I think it was one thing I would say about the beginning and one thing I would say about the end if we were trying to squeeze lore out of it. The first is that there's something very like meta on brand about how this thing has worked. Like the story they tell you is what is happening to the Warrior Light, and then your experience of it as an adventurer. Like Tataru has to manipulate the Warrior of Light into relaxing, and then even then they show up and immediately just like generate busy work, create a new administration structure, and start optimizing their stonks.
Flower sniffing champion.
No relaxation at all. They just get there. There's a new city state on the island. What the hell?
Yeah, it's Pretoria, right?
I think another thing too we can learn from it is like I don't know if there was like a specifically defined relationship before with Slaverson and Hilfear. Was there? I don't know if it was like
that was the thing I was gonna bring up about the end.
Okay.
Yeah, we're sharing our last brain cell.
Hell yeah.
I don't quite know where this is going, but I have hopes. Keep going.
No, so like Einzar, if you've been paying attention, used to be Mistbeard.
Mm-hmm.
And Hilfear is the leader of one of like the oldest, most successful pirate crews. So even though Merylwib left her crew more or less behind and reformed the city-state, they were all kind of on the same page for a hot second before like the Krakens and the Sirens came along. So you had like the Bloody Executioners and the crew of Mistbeard Richard, and now we cut here to this new age where Hilfear kind of threw his weight behind Merylwib in a very covert way. He supported her initiatives, but the position for him was supposed to be he's supposed to look like a representative of the Outlaws who's saying, yes, it benefits us to follow her right now, and that it looks like he still gets to follow the pirate tradition. And the fact that we just cut to old Mistbeard and old Hilfear standing around bickering in their tropical shirts, I think like really highlights the completion of Merylwib's transformation of the city.
Lips has come a very long way. And it's interesting too, because it's just like, you know, I think especially when you've played 1.0, you've seen like, you know, in the intro Maelstrom cutscenes, you know, you see the echo of like Merylwib and Hilfear's confrontation and just how aggressive he was, you know, towards Merylwib and their duel. And it was just like, you know, oh, there's no way like he's going to you know, submit to that, and he ends up doing so just because of, you know, what was happening at 1.0. And then, you know, to see them now in their little Hawaiian shirts going on a nice little date across all the islands, it's nice. It's nice character development.
You have described it as a date, and therefore I am pleased. What? I ship it. They're cute together.
They're going on like an island excursion. Like it's a vacation.
Like they absolutely could have the they absolutely have the energy of like two old queens who are very comfortable with each other.
Just give me like a grumpy old men script for this.
Grumpy
two
or
old queens.
old.
I just said it. Have you seen like old gay couples? They're adorable. I mean, given the suggestion that Miss Beard and Merwin might like, he could be bisexual. That's allowed. Bisexuals are allowed.
Don't you know the rules of Twitter? All NPCs are pan and poly, so that there is no nuclear war.
And on that note, thank you.
It's an island sanctuary. It's legal here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chamo, Anonymoose, for joining us and making this an absolutely amazing episode. I really enjoyed all the banter back and forth. Your takes on lore were interesting.
I believe you mean 100% accurate in all ways.
Of course. But we have one last piece of business to do before we close up here. We have a giveaway, and the winner.
Drum roll.
Saying that I can't do it because they're not following, but you know what? I don't care. Darth Zellion, you won. You're good, man.
Woo!
Congratulations!
But congrats. Thank you so much. If you want to follow the channel, that would be greatly appreciated. But I will send you your code for your lunar whale here after the show. So thank you again.
Yeah.
And there we go. I think we're
very
good.
faithful watcher. Just click the follow. There we go.
Yep.
There we go.
Now I can officially pick you as the winner. So there you go.
Yay. Oh.
There, got your information added to the sheet, so you're good to go there. Don't forget, guys, we do have additional prizes for people who comment on this YouTube video. You make a comment in our Discord channel. I'll figure out how exactly I want to do that, as well as a comment on the website article for this episode as well. We have different things to give away there, so thank you. And thank you, Moose, for that follow, too. It's appreciated.
I forgot I actually can follow things now. Like I have an account.
Oh yeah, I should also do that.
Yay!
And appreciated. So yeah, that's gonna go ahead and do it for this episode, guys. If you liked what you saw, please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or whatever your preferred podcatcher is. And if possible, leave us a rating or review. It lets us know how we're doing and helps other people find our show. If you really dig this show, you can consider subscribing to us here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio, where you're going to get access to a number of subscriber-only emotes and badges. Or you can support us out on Patreon, like our Benevolent Overlord, Aurora Fenrir, our shadowy foreign investor, Tibian Salts, or our Secret of Nevermore, Ravenheart, by visiting patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio. All the proceeds.
I am still proud of that name.
That was a good one. We collaborated on that one.
Secret of Evermore is an underappreciated gem.
Yep, and then Ravenheart.
In this thread, I will.
The proceeds go towards growing the show, cover things like hosting costs, allow us to buy Sarah a new computer, and things like, and these contests that we've been doing. So this is amazing support. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. But whether it's tweets, retweets, follows, subs, donations, whatever, it's all greatly appreciated because we just love interacting with you guys. If you want to check out the backlog of our episodes, go out to our website, PhoenixDownRadio.com. If you have questions, comments, suggestions, you just want to say hi, you can email us, podcast@PhoenixDownRadio.com. For those of you who are listening out on the podcast, make sure to join us sometime live here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio and have fun with us as we do the show live. So let's start with our guests. Chamo, do you have any shout outs? And also tell us, how people can find you out on the web.
Plug your SoundCloud.
Yes, plug all the things. Oh my.
Like I said, I'm Chamo. I don't have anything specific to plug, but if you do want to follow my Twitter, I can't post anything too deep into Final Fantasy XIV lore these days because I'm just so busy. But my @ is Chamaluya. Please feel free to follow. And I'm just glad to be here. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts on 6.2, and it was really great spending time with everybody.
We hope to have you on again sometime because this was a lot of fun. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Moose?
Oh, let's see. I don't know. I'm still recovering from grad school, so I think I'm I'm trying to stream when there's new content. I'd like to stream a little more than that, but I'm getting started on new content first. Like when new content drops, I'll stream it my first run through. So that's ANWYLL Onwell on Twitch. You can also find me at Anonymoose XIV on Twitter. Mostly you can just bug me on Discord anytime you want. But thank you so much for the invite. It's an honor to be considered.
Dude, you are welcome here anytime. We really do enjoy having you on these shows. I know. You and Seyrr have quite a vibe going back and forth. You know,
we BS every day.
I wonder about
yeah.
you two some days, but no, it's good. It's good that you can share that with everybody here. So thank you again for joining us, especially on this very auspicious episode.
We have similar psychological damage, so we get along really well.
You're both fucked up in the head, is what you're trying to tell me.
Everyone's fucked up.
Yeah.
Everyone is fucked up in the head.
You're not wrong.
That's like what my 11th grade English teacher called the human condition.
Okay, then. Now, your turn.
All right. So shout outs as always to all of our watchers, including the people who joined us on the Island Sanctuary today. Love the fireworks. What are you doing, Chili? You know what? I'm not even going to worry about that. Shout out to our Patreon donors. The subsidizing of the new computer helped out a lot, especially when my previous one unexpectedly decided to just start crashing like crazy.
Yeah.
Shout out to my friends Andy and Austin, who gave me a loaner laptop to use in the interim, so it did not disrupt work or being able to run Abyssos too much. I didn't try to do anything beyond that, and I now know I need to back up my hotbars to the cloud, but I made it work. And shout out to my friend Mark, who, when the new computer arrived, helped me open it up, reassemble some bits, hook up all of my whole hard drives so I can get stuff off of them. PC Building Simulator is a really awesome game that makes you a lot less scared to muck around with the inside of your computer. So, oh my god, the wiring is so much easier in that game than in real life.
Yeah,
Cable management sucks.
Cable management is a bitch, but it does help. So, and how can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at FFXIV. That's FFXIV SEYRR. You can find me on an absurd amount of Discords. I have a tendency to stalk Moose, so pretty much anywhere you find him, you'll probably find me too.
You know, digital stalking is still stalking, Seyrr.
It's not stalking because the information is all technically public. That is also another crazy ex-girlfriend reference.
We're gonna change the name of your island to Kiwi Farm.
Oh no!
Oh boy. Before things
Look,
devolve,
I'm just saying that librarians are really good at gathering information. It's a natural skill set.
That
Also,
sounds much better.
So you're
Also,
telling me
when
that librarians are natural born stalkers? Glad to hear it.
Like, that one song I'm referencing, I've done almost everything in it. Technically, I found the guy's parents' house on Zillow and not Google Maps, but, you know, good enough. I'm better now. I'm doing a lot better now. My frontal lobe was not fully developed, and that's what I'm blaming it on. Anyways.
Hopefully the statute of limitations is up for that one.
Yes, the statute of limitations is up on that. The statute of limitations is up on the lock picking. I'm pretty good at this point.
Anyway.
This is not an act I'm like this most of the time.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw out a quick shout out for Taliz. You can find him at Marvelous Tofu on Instagram if you want to follow him. Thank you again, buddy, for stopping in. Greatly appreciated. Huge shout out to Moose, to Chamo. It was a pleasure to meet you, Chamo. Pleasure to have you back, Moose. Like I said, I hope this isn't the last time either one of you is on the show. Thank you again.
You know what? I'm just gonna start being, anytime I'm bored, I'll be like, "Hey Moose, you want to be on the show? Hey Chamo, you want to be on the show?" I'm gonna drag Rockle on. Rockle doesn't get to escape forever.
Long as I got like a week to adjust my schedule, I will go pretty much wherever I'm told.
Excellent.
Well, you know basically when we're going live, so I think we can figure something out. We try and give as much advance notice as possible. So
we should get Beard on and have him evangelize Puppet Master.
Oh gosh. Beard is my husband. He really likes Puppet Master. He's reaching out right now. But he's blurred out by the screen because he heard about Puppet Master. Anyway.
Oh God. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that that's going to be the next limited job. So, anyway,
I keep saying limited. He gets so mad at me. Anyway, yeah.
Well, it's too powerful. It must be limited. Shout out to everybody joining us here live on Twitch. Great crowd tonight. Thank you so much for making our 7th anniversary episode special. Shout out and congratulations to all our prize winners, Alshalon, Darzelian, and T-Learn597 out on Twitter. Thank you so much for retweeting our last tweet for that. I'm just overwhelmed and extremely grateful, to continue to be able to do this with you guys and have you guys continue to support us the way you have. It's beautiful, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. And we're going to keep doing it for as long as we can. So please look forward to that. You can find me out on Twitter at PHXDN_KLAUSS, or like I said, follow the show at PHXDN Radio out on Twitter. So for our guests, Chamo, for Anonymoose, for my co-host Seyrr, for Taliz Marvelous, I am Klauss Nightbringer, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/Guilty Gear Rock You. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.